Hey everybody, it's me, Greg Miller. Did you know the holidays are coming up? That's right, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Groundhog Day, they're all right around the corner. And if you need the perfect gift, let me tell you about Movement Watches. We get it! Holiday shopping can be tough, but thanks to Movement Watches, all that gift-giving anxiety can disappear with the press of a button. These watches make the perfect purchase for just about anyone in your life, guy or girl, and remember, they start at only $95. You've heard me, that's right, me, Greg Miller, talk about Movement Watches before, and I'll tell you why, because they sent us a whole bunch of them. I got this cool black one with a red face. Kevin, you seen this watch I'm wearing sometimes?
I have.
I only wear it with the suits, because I want to look very, very nice.
That's my same policy with my watch.
Exactly, because I look like a schlub every other day. But when I want to step it up and say, impress the in-laws, I wear the watch. Now, you might say, Greg, you're not married, but you understand what I'm driving at. Jen's got parents. God damn it. Can you just keep up with the references I'm making, ladies and gentlemen? Movement watches start at just $95. At department stores, you'd be looking at $400 to $500. So it's simple. Get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to movementwatches.com/kinda. Ladies and gentlemen, that's MVMTwatches.com/kinda. This watch has a really clean design. Seriously, Kevin's been getting compliments left and right about it. Now's the time to step up your watch game. MVMTwatches.com/kinda. Watch what happens next. That's not they don't have a tagline. I made that up.
You can stop now.
Is that a good one?
No.
Oh God, they do have a tagline. Join the movement.
Oh, and I like it
Yeah,
too.
I like that one too. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I wore the shirt the other day. I'm glad I didn't wear it today.
You wore it yesterday.
Yeah, that's the other day. Doesn't that count?
No,
the other day doesn't imply it was like a
For
fortnight.
anyone at home that was listening to us and was wondering what day was it that he wore that shirt, it was yesterday.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
It was the 14th.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Yeah.
What day of the week was that? What month?
That was what is today? I don't even know what today is. Today's Tuesday.
It's Wednesday.
Over there, the period one, Tim Gettys.
Is it Tuesday?
It's not Wednesday. It's Tuesday. So yesterday was Monday, November 14th.
How are you, Tim?
What's the most? I'm good.
I like this shirt.
Fantastic.
This
Me
shirt
too.
reminds me of a 90s TV show opening, like a cartoon.
That's the point.
Is it? Mm-hmm. I feel like I haven't seen this shirt a lot. Is it new? Is it old?
I bought it for E3 this year.
Okay.
As part of my yearly E3 update.
It looks like it's got a lot of wear since E3. How would I not know?
No, that's the style. They did that,
Gotcha.
which is
Distressed.
upsetting. Because I don't usually like that shit. When I was at Macy's buying it, I was looking through all of them and I was like, man, these all look like garbage. Like they have this weird fade to them in a bunch of weird places. I don't know if it's showing up on cam. It's not really.
Kevin, is it showing up on cam?
You can kind of see it in the arm there.
Thanks,
but
Kev.
I didn't like it. This was the best quality one they had, but even it's not holding up too well.
Okay.
But I appreciate it. It's an aesthetic.
The Pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you today.
I felt like you had to think about that one.
Yeah,
You're not sure 100%.
I mean, I usually say go Jets or go Islanders. The Islanders are abysmal.
Jets aren't doing much better. Can we
Jets
be
are
honest here?
bad. A lot of talk about Tony Romo going to the Jets.
God damn it, Tony Romo. Oh wait, is that good?
I mean, he's
That
a good
would be good
quarterback,
for the Jets,
but I don't want him.
Why not?
Because we have
Tony Romo.
to mortgage something for him. I don't want to do that. He's going to cost us what, 2 first round picks or something like that?
You're telling me the Romo Brandon Marshall connection can't get it done out there?
No, we should just get rid of everyone and start again.
You think
And
you might
then-
use Delaney? Is Delaney a hockey player?
Zeleny?
Delaney?
It's not. We're not talking about hockey.
Zidane?
We're not even
Is
talking about
Zidane a
hockey
hockey
anymore.
player?
Jets? Whatever. Sorry.
Jesus
Jaromir Jagr?
fucking Christ. And then rounding out the fivesome today, Nick Scarpino,
rowdy.
the one and only at Miss Movies,
Yeah.
Brianne.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Great, thank you. You are here because you supported us at patreon.com/kindafunny.
I did.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Do you regret it?
No, I don't,
I
but
was
I do
gonna-
have to think about it for a moment.
Yeah.
This is a way to get away from my children. That's one of the reasons I did this. Because
Monsters.
I am a mom. I have 2 kids, and it's a full-time job. And
Yeah.
I was like, I need to leave just for a little bit.
So you just like took a bag of dog food, cut it open, and left them there?
You know, I cracked the window. They're downstairs.
He cut it open. Did she hang it up?
Let all the aggression out.
Food pinata.
Jesus Christ.
No, you're up here to be on the show, of course.
I am.
You're doing Pockets Full of Soup tomorrow.
I am
So look
as
for that soon
well.
on Jared Petty's channel.
Great show.
But tell me a little bit more about yourself. You are
Mm-hmm.
an active Kind of Funny community member, best friend.
I've been around the community since April, so I'm a newer,
That's not
newer
that long.
community member.
What brought you in?
Yes, Max Landis, the episode with Max Landis.
What a great episode that
I
was.
follow him
Thanks,
on
Max.
Twitter, and he started like tweeting about it, and I thought,
Thank
hey,
you, Max.
that's something I should look at. And I think he was here in March, and when you want to look at something, you say, okay, I'll put that on the list of things to do,
Sure.
and then didn't get around to it till April. Watched his episode or listened on iTunes. That's my jam. iTunes, if you're on there, I will listen pretty much to your podcast. And and I listened to that episode, and I was thinking, I kind of like this. Maybe I should check out another episode, because when Max Landis is on a show, Max Landis is on
Is
a
the show.
It's the show, yeah.
So I knew what to expect with him, and I thought maybe I should check it out again. I consider you guys like The View, only with men.
The amount of time I've heard
And
that
so-
is such a compliment.
I'm Whoopi Goldberg.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Nick
Give
is
us the
Joy
titles.
Behar.
Which is not Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Walters.
Barbara Walters.
No, she had-
She's no
I think
longer there.
like-
She's no longer there anymore. That's what I'm saying. I'm Whoopi Goldberg. Colin is that Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
She's not on the show
sure.
forever.
I don't know. I don't watch the fucking View.
Can I be Raven?
I don't want to say.
Is Raven on the show now?
Every day is on the show.
No,
yeah.
I use a website called Real Clear Politics, and I go to the video thing every day because they clip out like interesting political videos every day, like 10 or 12 of them, so you can watch like, here's 8 minutes of this, and the View's always on there. So I just
Interesting.
I just know.
So who's the current cast?
It's the only two people I know are Joy and Whoopi, and then there's like some other.
But isn't Darlene from Roseanne on there now?
Raven.
No.
Or that's The Talk with Aisha Tyler.
No,
Fuck.
you know who
Yes.
is on it?
That's a
I
good
forgot
one.
Candace Cameron Bure.
No, she is not.
And she's like a hardcore Republican.
oh, I'm aware of that, yeah.
She voted for Trump.
Huh.
Saw that clip.
Capeo.
So with you guys, it was different. Normally when I start a podcast, I just go from there and continue.
Sure.
I don't, and maybe I'll look back and see what topics or whatever, and I'll pick and choose. And then I just ended up going through the entire catalog. So it took me 25 weeks.
Bless you.
25 weeks.
25 weeks to do
You'll
it.
never get those back.
That was to complete it, and that was 11.3 days of listening. I definitely calculated it. I do have a Google sheet on it, so there you go.
But here's
so
what I
many
don't get about you.
questions.
You have your own YouTube channel. You're creating your own content. You're doing all these things. You have 2 children. Where are you fitting in?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't sleep also. That's
Oh,
one
okay,
thing.
okay. That
makes
Like
sense.
I was up at 3
kids.
a.m. this morning to get here. So there you go.
How old are the kids?
My kids are 4 and 5, almost 6.
Okay. So they don't get how awesome you being just a YouTuber is.
Sure. Not yet. My daughter understands, like, when I get makeup done or put makeup on, she's like, you're going to a recording. I know what you're doing. I want to do what you do one day. I was like, no, don't do that. But
Get a STEM degree.
I was like, or we should start right now.
Yes. I like
See,
the way
that's
you're
what I was gonna say.
there. The Shay Carl
The
method.
problem is, like, we watch a lot of family YouTube channels. Every family on YouTube yells, and it drives me absolutely insane.
Do the
So-
DeFrancos do that as well?
we don't watch them.
Okay.
So we
Do you
watch.
watch the
we
one
Trade
with
us
the
into
kid?
like a yelly bit.
Do you watch the kids unwrapping stuff? The kids that
We've gone through the whole thing. There's like cycles of what your children will watch on YouTube. It was first the surprise eggs. And then it was the lady that did Kinder eggs. And now it's like families that are pretty much trying to sell you something, which technically in the media world, it's illegal for a child to sell you a product. You cannot have a commercial where a child is selling a product. But on YouTube, anything goes.
Anything.
So
Wild West.
my kids are like, hey, Evan Tube has this. I want this. I'm like, no, you're not getting that. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
And for my money, there's nothing worse than a YouTube channel that sells you something. If you didn't know, this is the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each bringing a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can get each and every episode early, along with a bunch of exclusive perks, goodies, and other things that Tim likes to send you.
I do. I really liked your air table.
Yeah, I got to do something different.
hit it.
Got to
I
do something
appreciate
different.
I'm happy that she was able to get into the rhythm. I always feel bad when a guest comes on and I
Yeah.
go to do it and they're behind,
not ready.
they forget, they get all mad about it.
I was a
nailed it.
dancer, so I do know a little bit of things about timing.
Timing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Colin,
Yes.
what's the most important thing for comedy? Timing! If you didn't know, though, you can also go to youtube.com/kindafunny where we put up the entire show topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big video or MP3 for your amusement the following Friday. Now, Miss Movies.
Yes.
Usually we'd start with you.
Usually you would, but I think that I would like to defer to Colin.
Of
because
course.
as a best friend, I know that the week after an election, who do I want to hear from most? And that's
Bill
Colin.
O'Reilly.
And he's unavailable, so we get Colin
Ireland's
Moriarty.
own Bill O'Reilly. So we actually, I mean, I'm not because people are going to say it. We recorded this out of order. We're recording this last, even though we're putting it first. Here's the bottle of bourbon that proves it. So you don't have to call it out.
We were going to say something eventually.
No one's going to say it.
No?
So I actually was somewhat loath to do this particular topic because we've already done it twice. But then I was looking at the numbers in the comments and then our tweets back, and I was like, well, we really should do one more. I think the first two topics we did about after the first debate, and I think after the third debate,
After the third debate,
Yeah.
looking back on the
Right.
second and third.
were some of the most viewed topics we've done in a very long time. So I was like, okay, there's some demand for this, and it's going to be polarized and all of this. So I wanted to start, and then I'm going to kick it to you guys, and then when you're wrong about things, and you're going to be, I will jump in and let you know.
Fair.
I thought I'd just present the statistics and what happened. So for everyone knows, Donald Trump won. No one expected that to happen.
What? I haven't checked social media.
I didn't think that was going to happen, but I'm also not surprised that it did, because I did sit here at this table tell you that the polls were catastrophically wrong, and I was right. I just didn't think that they were so wrong. And this is exactly what I said. Someone actually clipped this out and sent it to me, where I'm like, if the polling is so wrong that Donald Trump wins, then we shouldn't poll anymore. And that's actually where we are. The polls were so wrong, sometimes off by 10 points in certain states. Just out of whack polling, where I was like, but I knew Donald Trump had this very silent support. We talked about the cone of silence and shy Tory supporters and all that kind of stuff, and I knew that they were out there. I just didn't think they were out there in this great number.
What was the other name? You used another name about how the shyness of a person. It was a black guy, I thought. That ran
Bradley effect.
Bradley effect, thank you.
That's from the Los Angeles mayoral race in 1982. So, what happened is it's 290 to 232 in the electoral college. You need 270 to win. So Trump has won. Michigan hasn't been decided, but he will win Michigan. So he'll end up with 306 electoral votes, which is pretty close to being a landslide. It was so right now it's 61.3 million popular vote for Clinton, 60.5 million for Trump. Trump lost the popular vote. He's probably going to lose the popular vote by more like 1.5 million when everything's tallied, because a lot of outstanding votes are in California and Washington, where 2-1 are being voted. So he's getting buried there. So for swing states, Clinton won New Hampshire, Virginia, Colorado, and Nevada. For swing states, Trump won Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Iowa. And then the big thing here is that Trump won 3 states no one even had in play. So he won Pennsylvania, which was the most likely of the 3 that he would win. But Pennsylvania is what's called fool's gold in politics. The Republicans never win it, and they always go there saying they can win it. And then Philadelphia votes overwhelmingly Democratic, and the rest of the state falls.
We always point out that, in fact, we have a very big international audience. For everybody who's not an American, what's a swing state?
So a swing state is so you can pretty much look at the map and predict the way 40 states will vote every time. So Texas is always going to go. Utah is always going to go to the Republicans. Texas will go to the Republicans. California is not even in play ever. It goes to the Democrats. New York, which was Donald Trump's home state, still not in play for him. Swing states are states that have heavily polarized populations.
They could swing one way or the other.
Exactly. Florida is heavily polarized. It's got a native Republican population with snowbirds that come from the north that make it a swing state. Ohio is typically a union state that would lean liberal with some college towns, some industrial cities with a huge rural and suburban Republican vote. So these states typically go, and the big swing states are always Ohio, Florida. Iowa's a swing state this time because Obama won it twice. But it's, so the big thing here is that Trump had this very specific path to win, and he just nailed it in a way that no one ever thought. He had to win the Rust Belt, and so he did. Pennsylvania hasn't voted many, many cycles for a Republican since Reagan. Or actually, no, Bush. So 88, I think, was the last time. And then Michigan and Wisconsin, which were not even in play. No one even talked about them, especially Wisconsin, voted for Trump. So Trump wins. In comparison, Obama beat Romney 332 to 206. Obama beat McCain 365 to 173. Bush beat Kerry 286 to 251, and then Bush beat Gore 271 to 266, which was the famous year 2000. And people are talking about voting being down. Voting numbers are down. 129.3 million people voted in 2008, and 126.3 million people voted in 2012, and 121.8 million people voted this year. So if people,
how far down is that? Like, what's the closest analog as far as years are concerned? Do you know?
it's hard because you'd have to do the math by per capita. For instance,
There's just physically more people.
Exactly.
That's what it makes
Bush Gore was
Doesn't it make it worse,
110.4, but that was not considered a bad turnout year.
Okay.
So the
How many people could have voted? Do we know?
Yeah, about half of the people that could vote did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something like 48 or
I think it was actually less. I think it was like
49%.
47.9% or something like that, according to exit polling.
That didn't vote. That's
That
what I'm
didn't vote.
saying. Yeah.
No, I think that more people didn't vote than.
That's what
than
I'm saying.
did. Yeah,
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. 48 to 49. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of how it always is, though?
Yes, but it's
But recently, the Obama years were very much like
Obama
people were
had a
motivated.
coalition of people. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume it's probably 60% of people that were eligible to vote, which is a big turnout.
Vote or die. People were scared.
They were. Paris Hilton was very clear about that.
Yeah.
So I have exit polling. Exit polling is awesome, and unlike the polling that was done before the election, there's no reason for anyone to lie in exit polls. So this is a pretty good exit polling. For people that don't know, is polling that's done after a person votes. They are CNN's outside. These are CNN's exit polls. CNN's outside. They talk to you and say like, "How'd you vote?" Blah 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 blah, and they ask you a bunch of questions. So then they put all of those things together and try to figure out how the coalition was won.
But why would that be more or less accurate if someone's just going to... If someone asks the question before they vote versus after, why would they lie on both accounts?
Because I don't know that they have any shame after that they pulled the trigger. And you also don't have to talk to exit pollsters. Nor do you have to talk to regular pollsters.
Right.
But I feel like...
I just feel like the whole process of polling, while it just feels like it's an inaccurate institution.
polling... So the thing about polling, and this could be another topic, is the polls were wrong. And I sat here and told you guys the polls were going to be wrong. But again, we didn't know that they were going to be so wrong. I knew that they skewed liberal. I knew that they were ignoring a huge swath of Trump voters that were afraid of talking about it, or more accurately, that they just were not represented in the swath. Polling is scientific completely. It should work every time. The problem is sampling. And when you have the sampling wrong and then part of the sample lies, then there's nothing you can do about that. Polling does work. Polling is completely predictive if the sampling is right, which it wasn't. And that's a problem, and they have a lot to figure out there. So, according to CNN exit polling, which was done in person or probably over phone, males were 48% of the electorate, females 52% of the electorate. Trump won 53% of the male vote and 42% of the female vote. Trump won 37% of the 18 to 29 vote, 42% of the 30 to 44 vote, and then 53% of the 45 to all the way up to whatever vote. So, obviously, he won with older electorates. Race is always interesting. White people were 70% of the electorate, and 58% of them went for Trump. The black electorate was 12%, and 8% went for Trump. 8%. 88% to 8%. That's higher than Romney did. Latino vote was 11%, and 29% of them went to Trump. That's higher than Romney did, unbelievably. And then the Asian vote was 4%, and that's 29% to Trump, 65% to Clinton, and then other races, 56% to Clinton, and 37% to Trump. So basically, boiled down, white 70%, non-white 30%, white vote 58% for Trump, 37% for Clinton, non-white 74% for Clinton, 21% for Trump. Education. This is also interesting. High school or less, 51% for Trump. Some college, 52% for Trump. College graduate, 45% for Trump. Postgraduate, 37% for Trump. And then I'm just using Trump as an example because he won. Obviously,
Sure.
you can do the math.
Well, he's also the more polarizing of the two candidates. That makes sense.
Income, under $50,000, 41% for Trump. $50,000 or more, 49% for Trump. And you can boil it down there. Party ID, 89% of Democrats voted for Clinton. 9% of Democrats voted for Trump. That's similar to the 10% that Obama pulled in 2008 of Republicans. I was one of them. Republicans were 33% of the electorate. 7% of them voted for Clinton. And 90% of them voted for Trump. And then independents, Trump won independents by 6 points, 48 to 42, and that's what won him the election. And then these are other interesting ones too that I just found. Union household. You would expect unions to vote for Democrats. If you are in a union, you voted for Clinton 51% and 43% for Trump. And then if you aren't, 46% for Clinton and 49% for Trump. And then if you served in the military, veterans, 34% for Clinton, 61% for Trump. And then first-time voters voted for Clinton 56% to 40% for Trump. So those are the exit polls for what happened.
I love how you're casually just taking the papers and throwing them on the ground.
I'll get them later.
Kevin, I need you to clean up these papers eventually.
I'll get them later. So that's the statistics. That's what happened. There is some sort of charge right now to get faithless electors to vote for Clinton.
But it's
in
so
the Electoral
small.
College.
It's
I know,
not
but
even
I'm
worth
just-
talking about.
I'm just saying that this is something that's happening. Otherwise, and that's not going to happen because that would cause chaos. Otherwise, Trump will be the 45th president of the United States. So
Well,
that's
she's
where we
already
stand.
conceded, though, right? At this point, she's already conceded.
Clinton conceded, but it doesn't matter. Gore, I think I want
If
to
the
say
Electoral
Gore conceded.
College was like, you're the president, she'd be like, okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that's not going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to
Stop
happen.
hanging your head on that.
It's going to happen. Maybe you can get a few faithless electors to vote that way, but
What is a faithless elect?
Somebody who has no allegiance to their fucking state. You're supposed to vote this way for this is what the people of your state have decided.
Oh, I see.
You now should go and vote for them, and they're going to go in there and go, you know what? No, I'm going to vote my conscience. I'm going to vote what I'm hearing, this, that, and the other.
I have a
It's
question.
absurd and undemocratic. Yes.
In Maine, they can split.
Nebraska as well.
Why don't we do that elsewhere?
It's a state by state choice. So the states, Nebraska, I think, takes like the Lincoln, Nebraska congressional district and the surrounding areas and gives that to them, and then everyone else votes in a block. And it's to protect the, what I assume is that, like, I think Clinton did get a point in Nebraska. They did get that 1 point, and then the 3 or 4 points went to Trump. And the same thing in Maine. They just do it by congressional district, which is possible here. If that happens, the Republicans will win every election. So people need to be very, very careful about
Right.
what they wish for. If you guys want, just look at the House, which is Republican plus 60 or plus 50. That will be what the election looks like now from now on. The other thing that people are talking about is like divvying it out by instead of winner take all, divvying it out by popular vote. And I'm like, the Republicans win there too. So you have to be very careful, and not in the popular vote literally in the Democratic way, but in terms of congressional districts. If the California had 55 votes and they all went to Clinton, under that Clinton would have gotten 35 votes and Trump would have gotten 20. Now, if you go to the Republican states where you have to cobble together these 3 and 4, so now in Montana, Clinton gets 1 and Trump gets 2, but then they go to New York and Clinton gets 25 and Trump gets 17, and so that just works against the Democrats too. So people got to be careful about what they're asking for.
I do love on election day how California is already blue when it's like 0% reporting.
Yeah, it was basically over. Now, certain places that I predicted did vote Republican. Long Island voted for Trump, which I said was going to happen. It was close, but they did. Orange County was basically split 50-50.
Really?
Yep. The suburbs in Philadelphia, where my brother lives, Bucks County, all those places voted for Trump.
Now, are you bringing these up because these are surprises?
Yeah, these are huge. These are massive. Well, Long Island not so much, but massive surprises in the sense that there was a Trump did put together this total national coalition of people. The only place that wasn't represented in big numbers was on the West Coast. Otherwise, he won all of these. He won the North. He won the South. He won with college-educated white people. He won with fucking white women by almost 20 points. He won more Latino voters than Romney. He won more black voters than Romney, obviously, because Romney was running against a black man, the first black president. So that's to be understandable. So in other words, it's just all weird, and that's how it all happened. And so I'm curious what you guys think about it and what your sobering thoughts are. We're recording this a week after it all went down, so I've had time to think about it. I didn't sleep very much actually because I was so obsessed with reading and watching things about it. But what do you think, Nick?
I heard that Trump. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was going to go right there, but you can start. Mr.
I
Moose.
heard that Trump won by slightly more than Romney lost by. Is that true?
Yeah, the votes are now coming in. I think Trump will net more votes than Romney will, and Romney got killed. Ultimately, he lost by like 5 million votes, and it got wiped out in the Electoral College. The thing is that the turnout was so bad compared to the Obama years, which I think were inflated because of the historic nature of that election. Now, I'm not saying that Clinton running is not an historic thing because it's a woman, and that is an historic thing. But not, I mean, frankly, the electorate spoke. It's not as historic. They don't look at it as important as getting a black man in there. So, yeah, it was down. He will net more votes than Romney, though.
I just want a window into Romney's house on election day. I want to know what that looks like.
I mean, I wanted a window into Romney's house earlier in 2016 when he could have easily jumped in and won.
You guys are weird.
Yeah, there are a lot of places I'd love to be a fly on the wall right now. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during that first meeting, the first ever in-person meeting between Obama and Trump. And I would have wanted to be there before and then right after it happened in both areas and just listen to what those guys had to say about each other, because I'm sure I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of mixed emotions and feelings and thought processes going through both of those guys' heads.
Colin,
right
you
now.
were saying that meeting went on longer than usual, right?
Yeah,
That
so
it seemed like Trump didn't understand
it was like
fully the
scheduled.
responsibility.
There's a lot
I
of
have to hire
interesting.
these
There's a
people?
lot of interesting shit being coming out, about Trump. And I'm not saying it because he's stupid, because I think Trump clearly, I'm going to say again, smartest man in the room.
No, stupid.
He won the hardest. People were talking about it. I think it was Joe Scarborough, who I love very much, is like, this is the hardest thing to do in the world. Like, there are only 45, technically 44 because of Grover Cleveland, he's counted twice, but 45 because he ran non-consecutively. There are only 44 people that ever did this. And there are thousands of bodies around all of these people vanquished, long vanquished, right? And so he's not a dumb man. But they clearly didn't expect to win. And so I don't think that they were prepared to win. And therefore, they were talking about how Mitt Romney had hundreds and hundreds of pages of governance. Like, these are the people we're going to hire. This is what we're going to do. And all these kinds of things in case he won, even though I don't think he thought he was going to win.
Right.
And they don't have any of that. Trump
feel
has
like,
none of that.
Do you feel like it's because he didn't think he was going to win, or do you feel like it's just because he's like, we'll figure it out?
No, I really do think it's because he thought that they weren't going to win. I'm sure their internal polling showed some more positive numbers, but I don't think that they thought they were going to win in Wisconsin and Michigan. Now, when exit polling started early that day, and it was clear, I was watching MSNBC the entire night, and I'm like, I remember saying, and you were there for a little while, I remember like 6 o'clock, 6:30, I'm like, Trump's going to win. Like, just based on...
You felt it. I mean, I felt it when I got home. I felt
yeah.
it at about 7 o'clock when I got home that night and started watching. I'm like, this is not going the way that I had expected it to.
There were certain... Well, so to answer the original question, that meeting was supposed to last 15 minutes. It lasted an hour and a half. Now, what they were saying to each other... I can't have any...
What would you have given to have been at
Oh
that
my God, it
that
must have been
meeting?
awesome. The Secret Service agents must hear so much interesting shit. And,
Yeah,
and it's amazing
God,
that none of
I
them
know.
talk. I mean, they are duty bound. So that meeting lasted many times longer than it was going to. And the word out is that the Obama administration is very concerned that not that the Trump people don't know what they're doing, but that they don't understand the gravity of what it needs to be done. They need to hire 3,000 people in like a month. They need to go and fill all of the ambassador roles. They need to fill the entire West Wing of people. They need to make a cabinet and then hire all of the cabinet secretaries and then all the people underneath them. These are thousands and thousands and thousands of positions, and these people are not prepared. Meanwhile, Mitt Romney went in with notebooks full of things like, this is exactly what we're going to hire. We're already set, and they probably made a bunch of deals in the fucking election anyway, quid pro quos and stuff like that. So there was some concern about that, and I thought it was fascinating because the one thing that I took a lot about away, and we can get into it or not, but President Obama has been very gracious and very patient. Those two men fucking hate each other. The way Obama talked about Trump and the way Trump had talked about Obama for a long time, Trump was a birther, right? So this is a very serious...
He was like the leader of that movement.
Yeah, he was. and we talked. People were bringing up the conversation with Colin that's about Donald Trump. When I talk about how much I love Donald Trump, and I do. I love Donald Trump as an entertainer. I thought he was great. I love The Apprentice. That was like one of my favorite shows ever. I love that show. But I said on there, I'm like, he's not fit for president. He's never going to be president. And all of this, and it was because of the birther shit. It was very personal. And to hear that, Hillary Clinton was very gracious on the phone. I'm sure she was in her concession speech, 12 hours too late, but conceded nonetheless. I thought it was a fucking complete baby hack move that she didn't concede that night. Straight up.
It was more embarrassing that the campaign chair or whoever came out and was like, we're not going to say if we won or lost tonight. There's still too many things to call. And while he's saying that, she's basically calling Trump. Yeah. Because when that was like when I left the room, when I was like, all right, cool. There's not going to be finished. And I went and started playing a video game and I put it on iPad just to watch what's happening. And then I saw the breaking news like 10, 15 minutes later that she'd called and conceded. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Bad luck.
It was super classless.
Well, I have to imagine that was a difficult moment.
I'm sure it was. It was. Because just
It
like
was a
Trump,
difficult moment for a lot of people who aren't her.
these, and with all due respect, these smug motherfuckers that ran her campaign, Robbie Mook and John Podesta and all these people, they didn't think they were going to lose for 1 fucking second. 1 second did they think they were going to lose.
They were stupid.
And
that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And like they're polling. I watch the circus and I see, and I watch politics shows every day, and I see these people. They had great access. Halperin and all those guys had great access to these people, and these people were with their shit-eating grins all the time. They thought they were gonna fucking take this ball and shove it down his throat. You know what I mean? And I told you guys that they were talking about running up the score, not about winning. They were talking about how many fucking states can we win? Can we wipe him out? Can we win in Utah, which voted, by the way, plus 30 for Romney? Can we win in Texas? Can we? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna win Texas. You better come back down to earth and figure this out real quick. So those people, I think part of it with Podesta and all those guys is I don't think they had a speech written.
But to be fair, like, what do you think they should have done
not.
differently? Like, do you think that, I mean, that at least the attempt at them saying that we need Texas, we got to get Texas, like, that's at least trying to motivate the Texan people to think about what they're doing. Because, like,
bad politics.
Because the other way to put it would be for them to just be like, hey, we need you. And it's just like, I don't think that would have worked for them either. I think that this at least did something.
If they were smart, they wouldn't even brought any of these states up. They were never going to win in those states, right? Like, it was a huge red herring. It was a mistake. Apparently, the only person in that campaign that was sounding the fucking alarm for weeks and weeks apparently was Bill Clinton. And I've been reading about this. Like, they were saying that, like, Podesta and those guys were laughing at him, like literally laughing at him when he was like, we are going to lose Michigan. Like, these are my people. Like, these are the people with the coalition we beat Bush with in 92, and they're not going to vote for you. And these guys were like, go fuck yourself. Like, we're going to go chase this one electoral vote in Nebraska. We're running the score up. We're not worried about these places. Meanwhile, Trump came in the back door and was like, if they don't want to spend in Pennsylvania, we will. You know, if, like, we'll barnstorm these fucking states and take them. And that's exactly because they had to. So they got the Clinton campaign was full of shit. And there was a massive disconnect apparently between the DNC, the Democratic Party, and the Clinton campaign. Apparently the Clinton campaign looked with great chagrin and great animosity towards the Democratic apparatus who wanted to help them and they didn't want their help. These people were apparently super arrogant. And Bill Clinton apparently was in all these back rooms being like, we have to go to the Midwest. We have to go to the Midwest now. And they were like, no, we'll go to New York and we'll go to California and we'll raise money and we'll do all these kinds of things. And he's like, we're going to lose. And he was right. So that's apparently like what a lot of the conjecture is the last week or so as these things slowly slip out is that Bill Clinton was the one who saw it coming. And so my assumption is that Clinton didn't concede because she didn't have a speech written because none of those people thought she was going to fucking lose. And I think even when the polls closed, their exit polling and all that kind of stuff showed that she was going to win. And when those numbers started coming in, the one that even though she won, the Virginia was one where I'm like, she's fucked. Tim Kaine is from Virginia. Her fucking running mate. They should have put that away in 2 seconds. That was so close. They didn't call that until after Trump had already won. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad news. Very bad news for them. When New Hampshire was in play until like 3 a.m, when Florida was called early, Ohio was called almost immediately. I was like, it's over.
So what do you think the number one reason is that for her loss? Like, do you think it really is she didn't put boots on the ground in those states properly, or is there something else?
I think it's. I mean, honestly, and I'll say it again. I think Hillary Clinton's a terrible candidate, and I think that
is that from. Are you saying that from a policy perspective, or from a likability perspective, or from all
everything?
Above?
No one. When Donald Trump's clearly a liar, right?
Yeah,
clearly,
he's already reneged on some of the things that
exactly
that he promised a week and a half ago.
Exactly, because the gravity and the reality of.
Those were opening bids, guys. Those were opening bids.
And he's going to learn. I think he's going to get certain things done to keep his people happy because, you know, he has the House and the Senate. It's Trump's game now, like completely. I think she wasn't a good candidate. I think that Joe Biden would have beaten Trump. I think that Bernie Sanders would have been interesting. There was an interesting thing with Newsweek. This was where I was like, this is fascinating. I was reading this last night. Newsweek started coming out with this stuff where we're like, this is what the GOP has on Sanders that they never even talked about because they didn't need it. They're like, we have videos of him in Central American countries with people chanting anti-American shit. Like him just sitting there giving speeches, doing all this stuff. Bernie Sanders didn't have a fucking job until he was in his 30s. Bernie Sanders went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon. Bernie Sanders, like
that was out though. Everyone knew that.
but this isn't stuff they had. No, normal people don't know this shit, you know. And they were like, they were saying that they had a 2-foot high stack of binders of shit on Sanders that they were ready to destroy him with.
But this is the whole thing of like that's
October surprise.
How long was the binder on Trump? And it didn't matter because he was a different candidate. That's the biggest thing. Why did Hillary Clinton lose, right? Because outside of, and I'm not doing this to throw a stone, outside of Kevin, who did I know that was passionate about Hillary Clinton to be passionate about Hillary Clinton? Like I watched the debates and I'm like, well, you you are making rational points and aren't a crazy troll. So yeah, I'll back you, and I need to vote for you, and I hope enough people understand they need to vote for you.
Sure.
And then people are like, no, she kind of sucks. I'm like, all right, that's a reasonable assumption based on what you've been presented with.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of hardcore Hillary Clinton fans.
But how many do you know? How many do you know that are like really who are like, no, she's great because of X, Y, and Z. I saw plenty of our friends on social media being like hashtag I'm with her.
Oh, no,
but
yeah.
I never saw anybody being like I'm with her because of X, Y, and Z.
Well,
And
that's the thing.
I
I
feel
feel
like
like
it is just the groups that we're rolling with.
100%.
sure, but I feel like this election was not about emphasizing the positive of our candidates.
That's a great point.
Right. This election was about fear and about emphasizing the sort of doom and gloom of what would happen if either one of them were elected. And this was probably, I mean, I haven't really paid this close attention to an election ever in my life, but this has to have been one of the nastiest that's ever happened in our history.
I would
mean,
say
I
it
cannot
is
imagine
easily the nastiest.
some of the things that were said. It just you couldn't even write that. I'd be like, I can't believe,
Really?
especially that last debate, like the things that they said to each other.
I can't believe it because from everything, I'm not involved in politics at all, never have been. And I honestly feel like it's because of this show that I've gotten even familiar with even the words used to describe this stuff. Like I know what I've always felt and I've known what I believe and I kind of just go with that. And I've always lived in a place that has kind of supported that, thought process. But I've had to learn to, at least to an extent, be able to defend myself with this stuff. And I feel like all I heard was how bad that the debates were going to be. And I thought they were like so tame and I thought there was nothing. And all it came back to was emails, and her just being like, all right, I'm just going to put up with this shit.
Well, no, it got pretty bad at the last debate. I mean, when all this stuff, the sex scandal stuff broke about Trump, and that became sort of the focus of the last act of the debate, and him firing back with him saying that there's no one that respects women more than me, and then like a half hour later
Audible
calling
laugh.
her a nasty person, a nasty woman,
Nasty
or whatever
woman,
it was.
nasty woman.
And just, I'm not talking about this stuff necessarily in the debates. I'm just saying, like, as far as the mudslinging was concerned, those October surprises, those things that came out a week before strategically that were dropped were fucking nuclear. Like 7 women coming out accusing our now current president-elect of sexual assault is kind of a big deal, and that's not something that I remember ever happening in the past. Like I don't think Obama had anything like that even close. The only thing I can think of is the questionable his questionable birthplace, excuse me, which is not questionable. It's been very much proven that he was born in the States or in Hawaii. But even then, that's one of those things you throw out that you just expect people who are casual fans of politics like me, or fair weather fans rather, of just saying, oh, that makes sense, I'll run with that, right? But this was just some incendiary shit that got dropped on Trump, and it just I don't know.
Didn't leave
it's
like a dent almost
well, it didn't
at
leave
all.
a dent, but it left a lot of people with sort of lamenting on the negative, and I think we all went into that Tuesday thinking like, holy shit, what, like. None of us like these candidates, for one, and like for the reason why I'm talking about, which is that I don't know, I can't point to Hillary Clinton, but like she's going to do this, right? I liked Hillary Clinton because she wasn't the antichrist that I view Trump to be, right? Yeah. And that's just me personally saying. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are up on her policies,
and that's why I think it's unfair to say that none of us did, and I think that that's the problem.
Well, what was her like crowning achievement as a policy?
And this is my opinion entirely, but I just feel like so many of the people voting are not equipped to be voting for this. Like we are not informed.
Well, they're not, but
and
that's why it has to be boiled down to these sound bites, these lowest common denominator.
But that's the problem, because
like
when the
slinging
sound
mud at
bites,
each other.
when the sound bites that people are hearing is that she's a criminal and evil, and it's just like, so then they just buy into them. They're like, okay, cool.
It's all the
Like,
Facebook
going
posts and
into
memes
it,
that didn't make any sense, right?
whatever it is, and it's both ways. It's Trump and Clinton,
100%.
but it's just like people like I honestly believe, and this goes against everything, but everyone talks so much shit about the system or whatever. I do not believe in this system. I think the system is broken as fuck, and the fact that we're letting people just vote willy-nilly going down this list. I looked down that list when I was there, doing the weird ass like little circle device thing they had.
Draw the line between the
It's
things.
so complicated.
Yeah.
Going through that whole thing, I'm just like, man, okay, cool. The president's got that. The California propositions, I looked this up a couple days ago. For the first time this is now my third time I've been able to vote on this stuff, and it's the first time I've ever looked into it. Like in high school,
that's not uncommon though.
Yeah.
But that's the problem though. In high school, they taught me. In high school, they went through it. Granted, from a very San Francisco point of view, but they went through every California proposition. They're like, when you vote for the first time, like be educated on this stuff. So I was. Last time, totally wasn't at all. This time, I was, because of this show, because of what this show taught me, and because I do feel like I have a responsibility now to the people out there that when I say stuff, it can't just be out of my ass. Like I want to be at least informed enough because I know that I am informing people that were like me or that were like even worse than me in terms of they don't give a fuck.
Well, you have that choice, right? You have that choice of saying, I'm going to take the soundbite and throw it back at our audience. Or I'm going to take the soundbite, filter it, understand it, see where it came from, and then say yay or nay, from an analytical, critical standpoint.
And that's where it gets hard because
but very few people want to put that time into it.
Even the extent that I did that, and I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal at all because I think that I am a perfect example of somebody that like, man, I am not as informed as I should be to be making decisions for our nation. Like I did some research and I read about the propositions and gave my opinion. And yeah, once you do that, I can kind of adapt that back to what I know I believe as a person. But then once I got to the part of all the like the House people and the
who should be the school board president?
Who's school? I'm like, I have no idea. So I left it blank.
Yeah, you can do that. I leave a lot of that stuff
Because
blank.
I'm like, that's the problem is I know that there's so many people that are there and they're dotting those things
You're
in.
doing it wrong. You got to vote for the dude that sounds like the best comic book villain.
Scott Wiener.
Every single time.
But
Is that wrong, Colin?
I
That's not what
voted
you
for
do?
Scott Wiener. Because
Me too, but
spent-
I looked into his
I
information,
spent
right?
an hour researching Jane Kim versus Scott Wiener. And that's because those are people that in my neighborhood I have seen a lot of shit about. And I was like, I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. And I feel like they've put in the work for me to deserve that.
And that was the same for me. It was the propositions. When I started going through the propositions, I would do the blind read of like, do I like this or not? And then it would be interesting to see like, oh man, Scott Wiener agrees with me. Well, fuck yeah, this guy seems like a dope dude.
Yeah.
I got burned on that bag proposition. I thought it was doing one thing. I read the thing and I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I guess it just then it's a wholly different thing than I thought it was.
I think we also evolve as voters because like when I was, a young voter, I would just ask my dad, so what are you voting for? And then like mostly I would sometimes follow that or I'd read up on it. But now, as an older woman, I'm like, I have to read up on this. And I'm mostly concerned with the education propositions because I taught elementary school for 6 years. And so it's really important to me that elementary schools, public elementary schools are getting what they need, which they aren't. And I don't know if they ever will be getting what they need. But I just want to make sure that they're taken care of. That's my most important platform, I would say, is education. But I want to thank you, Colin, because I knew that this was going to be a topic. And I'm not really a political person. And I have listened to Keeping It 1600
Nice.
and like
It's supposed to be a great podcast. my politics can beat up your history or my history can beat up your politics. That guy is awesome, by the way. If you don't know if you want a podcast about history and politics, he's really good. But I feel like I've learned something. And so thank you for that. And I also had some really, there's a tweet that I want to share that came out on election night that I thought was really hilarious. And I just need to read it to you all. This is by Alex Hooper, who says, I don't know why we trust the Electoral College. They aren't even in the SEC. They ain't even played anybody. That was a great one. I saw that one too.
Fair.
I saw that one too.
And Black Mirror's like, this is not an episode. This is reality.
Oh, that was crazy. That was funny.
This isn't marketing.
Did you see that tweet?
No.
Black Mirror, the actual show, put that out and was like, this is not one of our episodes. This is reality.
Yeah.
Like, this is happening to
I
you
got to
guys
see
right
Rachel
now.
Maddow do that live.
Oh, God.
Of like, if you are not
heartbreaking.
in a nightmare, this is
You
not
are awake?
You are awake.
So I'll say this. I don't know, we can get into, I don't even want to get into the post-Trump, Reince Priebus, fucking Bannon guy, like all this kind of, I don't want to get into all this kind of shit. The thing that I'll say about this is the media did this. And
They certainly had a heavy hand.
it had
in
a huge hand in it.
Sure.
The media did this, and liberal elitism did this. Coastal elitism, it did this 100%. And this is exactly what I talked about
See,
on the show.
But see, I don't know if the media, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know if the media did it necessarily. They were certainly culpable in it. But I feel like Donald Trump just figured it out and understood how the media works. Not that
That's
it's
what it
that
is,
hard of a system.
entirely.
And used them, and they were complicit in it 100%. Saw it coming, and they used it for ratings. Of course they did.
But that's not
But
what
that's
I'm,
that's the broken system. If you want to talk about a broken system, it's like how we give these people these fucking pulpits.
But I mean, it's true that he got, Trump was outspent significantly by the Clinton campaign. Significantly. They had many times more people working for them. They had all of these advantages and they squandered it. And that's why I tweeted out that night. I'm like, they should be fucking embarrassed that they lost. People were like, oh, it was like they were up 3-1, like the Warriors were against the Cavs and then they lost. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like they were like a goal away from winning in a series 4-0. And then somehow in a hockey game with 5 seconds left, they scored 5 goals somehow mysteriously and won the fucking game. And then somehow and then they just came back and won the whole series. I mean, that's how insane it is that Trump won. And I'm not coming in from that particular perspective. This was a backlash against the media thinking that they can tell people how to vote. They hammered Trump over and over and over and over and over again from every single, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong or fair or not fair, but that's exactly what happened. Every late night, every channel except for one, every newspaper, every major newspaper. There were newspapers that don't even give endorsements that endorse Clinton, like USA Today, the first time that they've ever done it because they were like, Trump's so dangerous. People look at this and they're like, you know what, fuck you guys. Like, there's clearly something biased and unbalanced about the way you guys are approaching this election, and we all know it. And it's true. No matter how bad Trump is, and all the things that he said and did, the media got involved and thought that they can steer the ship, and they were fucking wrong. And I said Greg that night, I'm like, one thing I'm happy about tonight is watching these motherfuckers eat shit on TV right now. They all thought they had it in the bag, and they're looking at their fucking despondent faces as the people said, you know what? Not so fast. We have a voice out here too. We don't want it. We heard your fucking propaganda for 18 months and we repudiate it.
But is it propaganda or is it just a direct reaction to the propaganda that Trump was spewing, right? Like, where is that gray area? Are they, first of all, no American media outlet is fair and balanced, right? They're all leaning one way or the other. But I feel like pretty unanimously, a lot of people came out and were like, we have to at least try and band together to get this person who has said some of the most outrageous shit any human being's ever said on camera. Like, we have to take this power away from him. And unfortunately, by doing that, they fed the beast.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that this election wasn't about knowledge. It wasn't about an informed voter base. It was about advertising. This is what we talk about. This is the EDAR conversation I go back to all the time that Eric Brudvig did back in the day at GDC. It doesn't matter that your game gets a 2.0 in IGN. It doesn't matter that your game gets a bad review. Your game gets reviewed. People are talking about your game. The election cycle was incredibly Trump. Yeah, it was Trump is fucking crazy. Trump is saying this thing. Trump fucking did this at a rally. Trump. It was never Hillary Clinton is saying that she wants to do X.
Right, but what I would argue about, I mean, you're right to a degree, but the Obama presidency, the Obama election, especially in 2008, was the epitome of low information nonsense. Right? It had nothing to do with John McCain. It had nothing to do with debating actual things that were happening. It was about, frankly, that was the first black man running for president, and young people and minorities and all this kind of can rally around this historic event. It was not about anything he was saying.
Sure.
So it's
about hope.
It was about hope. That's a little different.
Yeah, and he was quite full of shit, right? I mean, we all
given the circumstance. I mean, that's the thing, is it's like there's a system you're being put in with all of this, and that's the problem. Is it's like, okay, cool, you can believe in something, but it's like you can only get things done to the extent that you're able to.
Yeah, and he had. I mean, I don't want to get down down the road with that. He had a House and a Senate that could help him do whatever he wanted. It's the same, actually, identical situation. What happened now? The Republicans got wiped out, because of what happened. Also, the financial collapse happened during the election. So it was an interesting thing.
But here's my question for you. Going back to the media, right? So we have a political candidate that could potentially be president saying some crazy things, right? They don't, like, what would you prefer? Like how, and I'm not saying this in an accusational way. I'm just saying, how do you go about covering that in a fair and balanced way when it's so imbalanced? Well, like, you've got one person not saying much, and the other person saying the absolute, what I think the majority of human beings would say might be the absolute wrong thing. So what choice does that leave? It's checkmate at that point, right?
Sure,
you have to cover that. You have to give him.
I don't begrudge them covering it, and I think that they covered it because it needed to be covered.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that, and this goes back to exactly what I was saying about Clinton versus Trump in terms of looking at them as people. Trump's coverage came at the sacrifice of negative Clinton coverage, which should have been all over the place too, because Hillary Clinton's a liar. And a lot of these things that, I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care that Clinton looks better than Trump. I don't care about any of that shit. Hillary Clinton is a fucking liar.
And you're referring specifically just the emails, right?
Specifically the emails, but also an opportunist, and also just pretends like Benghazi didn't happen, that the rise of ISIS and all this spread of terrorism around the Middle East didn't happen when she was the fucking head of the Department of State. These kinds of things, it's true that it didn't become about, it didn't become so much about what Clinton did, but what about Trump did and about what Clinton had to defend herself. And that's fine. I'm not saying that the media should be Pravda in fucking Soviet Union and just act like everything's fine and look at these great things that are happening with Donald Trump. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that the people in the middle of the country and people in certain enclaves looked at this and were like, we don't care. We don't like Hillary Clinton and we don't like you, and we're going to do this specifically because we don't like you, and that really did happen. And that's a major part of it. But a big part of it too, and I was talking about the economic desperation. Look at the states he won. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. As someone told us on one of our shows, Michigan got its fucking teeth kicked in by globalization, by NAFTA. Trump comes in and just says like, well, I hear you, and I'm going to bring jobs back. I don't know how he's going to do it.
He's probably not.
But he said it, and so they voted for him because that's how that works. Here's what for me, I haven't really had any, place to speak about this since it's happened. We did one Google Hangout with some kid that I gave my thoughts on. But besides that, haven't been on any Colin and Greg lives where we talked about this. Haven't done any topics on GameOverGreggy. Like, for me, this just proves to me that it all comes down to, it's not even about politics. It's about people. It's about individuals. And there's a difference between individuals and people. And I can trust individuals. I do not trust people. I have no faith in people. And this whole election is a perfect example of that. I've met such good people. I've met very bad people. But when it comes down to it, when it's a group, like, I would never assign any tags to that group. Any type of, generic adjectives to be like, this group is that, this group is that. And that's all that this entire election and the entire post-election has turned into, which is just, it's them and it's us. And it's the problem with all of this is it's every single person is selfish. Every single person is looking out for themselves and their own interests. And whether their own interests are helping people, that's a great thing. It's still your own interest. You're still looking out for that to better the people around you as far as that goes. And it's been super hard to deal with all this stuff because for me, I, again, am not a political guy. And I do want to thank you, Colin, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know fucking shit about any of this stuff. But at least now, I'm at least a bit more informed than most.
Taking an extreme interest in it, which is good.
And that's my thing is it's like, but I've always had views. I've just never been able to back them up. And I'm still not able to really back them up. And I admit that. And I appreciate the people out there that see that I'm trying because I am trying.
Yeah.
Having said that, I know what I believe and I know what I stand for. So when I can view that and look at what other people are doing and like pick that I see, I agree with this person, I disagree with this person. It's never I agree with everything they say or disagree with everything they say. It's coming down to the fact that like we are voting for people that are representing us. And that's hard because I'm looking at a bunch of other people and like to be grouped into me being a Clinton supporter. It's like, man, some of the Clinton supporters are saying some real dumb shit that I don't agree with. But that's because they're selfish just like I am. I grew up in a bubble. For every single person throwing trash at me on Twitter and on Facebook and on this and that, all the social media, talking so much shit about how stupid I am and how much I need to listen to Colin and all of this stuff. It's like, you aren't listening. You aren't understanding that I do live in a bubble. I have always lived in a bubble. I am proud of my bubble. This is a bubble that I want to be in. Just like you are in a bubble. That bubble might be much bigger than mine and it might take up the entire middle of America. But guess what? It's a bubble. And you are just as selfish as I am. And as all of us are. And we are all acting in our own good. And I think that is the problem, is that we have a system that doesn't work that way. And anybody, like that Cracked article, yes, it made me sympathize, and yes, it made me understand another group of people in a way that I wasn't thinking about it. But when it comes to me, it rubs me the wrong way because I feel like that was not written to motivate critical thinking. I think it was written to motivate sympathy in a way that I think is unfortunate and preying on people to vote a way that they don't actually believe in because they are not informed. And I think that is the worst thing we can do because this is big. I drive my car every day and it's scary because I know I trust myself driving, but I don't trust other people driving. But they passed a test that says that they can drive. So I need to trust that.
Technically.
But whatever.
Not everyone on the road passed a test.
Exactly, right? But when it comes to this voting stuff, it's like, no, if you're 18 and you were born in America, you get to vote. And that's scary because there's these decisions being made.
Well, don't worry, a lot of 18-year-olds don't vote.
But a lot do, and we've seen like a lot. There's all this. There's so much that goes into this. But what sucks for me is like the narrative can be spun anyway. And I've been thinking a lot about this. And it's like when I look back at my life, like anybody can make it about them and anybody can like aim to get sympathy. And for me specifically, like, man, if I wanted to spin a story about how shitty my life is, it'd be real easy. You know, like my dad died of heroin abuse. My best friend, father murdered. My mom, health issues her entire life. It wasn't until I was 14 that I realized a bank account, because I would always help my mom get money out from the bank. I thought banks were things that you took money from because our number was always negative, and I thought it was always just a thing that you're borrowing money from the bank. I didn't get it because that's the type of life that I grew up in. My brother, been in and out of jail more times than I can remember. And it's like, yeah, I'm lucky enough that I get to sit here and talk about video games. And I'm lucky enough that I'm in the bubble of San Francisco and whatever. And I have all these friends from very diverse backgrounds and so many different upbringings, similar to my stories in different ways. But for me, it's really hard to be able to look out and see that this is the reality that we're living in right now. And to know that there are people that think that I don't get it. And I want to let you know, I don't get it. I don't get what you're going through. I know what I'm going through. And I know what my friends are going through. And I know what the people around me are going through. And I try to think about what you're going through. And I do read those articles. And it is because of this show. And it is because of people like Colin that give me that other viewpoint that I've never had. Because I have been lucky enough to grow up in this environment. But with that luck comes a lot of bad luck. And I just want people to realize that.
Oh,
Wow.
Very well said.
You've revealed so much.
Sorry.
And just, no, it's great. And wow.
Yeah, it's very well said. I think that you're right. The nature of political coalition building is to take someone with one story and then someone with another story, and they don't really fit. And then you're like, but you kind
especially
of
in
like
a country as big as ours, right?
Right, exactly. But that's always been the way it was, and when
diverse.
and it gets really fractured and fucked up. And that's what I talked about the Republican Party. For instance, I'm an atheist, you know, like, and I'm a Rockefeller Republican, or I was, and we had to somehow deal with the evangelicals, and we somehow had to deal with even, you know, the racist Southerns and Southern people. You know, I'm not saying all Southern people are racist, obviously, but you know, like the Dixiecrat kind of people. Yeah, exactly. Like, and we all kind of had to just be like, all right, like I always said, it was like a Mexican standoff every fucking election. We all hated each other. But we're like, well, I guess we settled on fucking John McCain, so that, you know, that's there we are now. John McCain is going to be the fucking sacrificial lamb to Barack Obama. The thing is, you know, I'll leave it with a few thoughts unless you guys have anything else. This is where I want to say. The one thing that I think is lost, it's not a unique thought, I've said it before, and other people have said it as well. The alarmism that was made about totally reasonable Republicans backfired when it mattered most. George Bush, Hitler. John McCain, Tojo, right? Mitt Romney, Mussolini. 3 totally normal men that could have been totally, and one was a totally fine president, right? When it came time for the apocalyptic, right? Everyone's like, you lied to us already. Polling showed in 2013 that there was incredible voter remorse and that people would have picked Mitt Romney if the election was held again, you know, because people realized they were lied to about them. And so when it came down to Trump, everyone's like, well, you lied to us 3 times in a row about these totally reasonable people. But they might not have been the best candidate, but they were reasonable men that you made it seem like they literally were calling them Nazis. Yeah, Mitt Romney's a fucking Nazi. Got him. Nailed him. Wouldn't you like Mitt Romney now, everyone? You know?
This is the problem, right, with politics in general, especially this election, and the fact of I agree with you on this, don't get me wrong, I'm not at all arguing, but we exist in a place of hyperbole where there are 2 sides, and you talk and you scream at each other, and that's all there is. You're here saying, well, we need to have empathy for the Trump supporters, right? But then you call the people who are protesting crybabies, or crybabies for the Sanders supporters back in the day, like on your tweets. And it's that thing of like, it's so hard to walk the walk and talk the talk. And that's even what I'm talking about now, where it's like when Obama won, I was like, oh man, all right, great, Obama won. And I didn't think about it. I'm like, great. And now that Clinton's lost and people are protesting in the streets and doing all, we're going to steal it in the electoral college. It's like, guys, remember when we were all, and I can never remember his name. You know what? I'm sorry, putting my hand in front of your face. Yeah, you remember this guy, Joe somebody or other, who was like, when Trump loses, I'm grabbing my musket and taking the
Joe
streets.
Walsh.
Yeah. I'm taking my streets in protest.
Joe Walsh
and
is
somebody's
an
like,
idiot.
what does that mean? And they're like, he means, peaceful protest. And da-da-da-da. And that's what people are doing. And now it's...
No, they aren't. But
we can't... Well, no protest is ever peaceful, Colin. Anytime you get anybody together, it's always some moron shows up and ruins it, which is the problem with both of the Democratic and Republican parties. is that in both of them, there are fucking morons that screw up and do
That's the
stupid
problem,
shit.
is there are people that aren't, and I think that those people ruin the entire day, and that's when the
do we feel like
problems
that's
come.
a symptom though of a larger issue, which is that we just simply don't trust the word of our candidates?
Yeah, we don't. But
Sure.
Like I think like when you literally listen to these people talk, do you have any faith on either side that they have any intention of fully coming through with anything they're talking
Well,
about?
that's the best thing for me in this election is that it's going to be either one side's totally right and one side's totally wrong, or one side's totally right and one side's totally wrong. Is Trump the worst thing ever, or is he going to bring you all jobs? That you all, like, I was on the show a few weeks ago and I was talking about how he's a snake oil salesman and he's lying to you and he's not going to do this. This guy running his businesses in New York doing this is not going to bring you your coal mining jobs. But those states voted that yes, he will, and we will do it. And it's like, let's see.
Yeah, the proof will have to be in the pudding.
In
There
4
will be
years.
there will be no excuse, because I'm glad actually that it's not split government, because I thought that would have been a really convenient excuse for him. When it was clear that Trump was going to win, it was clear that the Republicans were going to hold the other chambers.
Now there's
so
nothing holding him back.
Exactly. So
Like,
he has
put
no
your-
excuses. Now
put
they
your money where
could
your mouth is.
filibuster in the Senate, and it could be a problem. But the you're right. First of all, I think that there are a lot of people are being crybabies. I want to be very clear, and I want to be I just want to be very lucid about that.
But
there
then
are a lot of crybabies out there that do not accept the result of the election, and I would call it the other way if I saw it too. So
But
I want to
then
be
there
very clear
were-
about that. It's over. It's over.
In the
These are
Trump
people that don't
campaign, there
believe in the
were a lot of
system to begin
racists
with.
who were saying mean things to Muslims and being mean to people.
Sure, but this goes back to like what I was saying about the media and the general kind of ecosystem, right? About information, about facts. I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. And that's a big problem, because I read a lot more about politics and I'm way more immersed in it than most people. So if I don't know what the fuck is real anymore and what's the stuff with Steve Bannon that's going on now, I'm like, I don't know. Is Steve Bannon a white supremacist? That seems a little strange that they would do that. So what the fuck is the real truth? It seems like he's an anti-Semite, all these things. I'm like, I don't know. And then I read these stories
'Cause
that
it's
just
paper.
conflict with each other.
Right.
But that's the
And I'm
problem,
like-
though.
and I'm
is I
like-
think that's why this is the first election that we've ever had presidentially where it's not about the politics. It's about understanding people. And I think that's the problem is, like,
I would
at this-
disagree.
Really?
I
mean,
think-
you were the one earlier saying that, like, Trump won because of the media, because he is.
No. I would
Somebody that is
I would not
known.
disagree on the point that this is about the personalities. I would say that most of the elections are about that. I would say that the election between McCain and Obama was exactly that. It was not about. It doesn't matter what McCain would have said policy wise. Everyone wanted Obama because everyone wanted to prove our progress at that point as a nation. And so, to our credit, that was a great shining moment, I think, in our history.
Obama was a better candidate than McCain.
He was. But I also think that if he had been a slightly worse candidate, I think it still would have gone his way.
I think so too.
I just feel like more often than not, it really boils down to, they said about George Bush, right? One of the reasons why he won was because he was one of the guys that everyone thought, hey, I'd like to have a beer with that guy. Do you remember hearing that quote?
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe most people just go, he seems like a cooler guy. I'd like to have a beer with him, you know? And I would not put it past people that voted for Trump for the same reason.
But I mean,
he seems like a cool guy.
But that's my point, though. It's
No,
not about
I'm-
the politics. It's about that stuff.
But you said that this is the first election where it's only been about that.
sorry.
I'm saying
If I
most
said
elections
first,
are only about
I meant
that.
most,
Yeah,
for sure.
most elections, I would say
I think
about
that this is the first time that, like, all that stuff always, like, has some type of, actual effective
Right.
thing where you can see it. You can be like, okay, cool, this happened because of that.
Sure.
But I think this is the first time where it's just like, I mean, I've spent the last year talking about this election in some way or another, where we're talking about polling, we're talking about all this, and every single time I'm like, Trump has this, like, he has this. And that's what scares me, is it's like, I don't know politics, but I understand people. I understand that people know who he is and know that he is known, and he kept falling upwards. And over and over and over, I'm hearing about all this polling stuff, and I'm like, that sounds so wrong. Are you stupid? And that's when it comes back to like Hillary saying, how did they not see this? Whatever. I'm like, I'm with you. How did they not see this?
Yeah, because they were inept, and that's the thing. They were totally inept. None of those people should ever work in politics again. Any of them. I just want to be
Except
very
Bill
clear.
Clinton.
Bill Clinton, go fuck off. The
Jesus.
the thing, never seeing Bill and Hillary Clinton ever again would be a happy moment for me. The thing is that I voted for Gary Johnson. I left the Republican Party over Donald Trump. I didn't just vote for someone else. I fucking bounced. I was like, this is embarrassing. So this is not my candidate, you know?
Yeah.
I never told a person to vote for him. I never told a person that I liked his politics or that I thought he was fit for the presidency, and I don't think he is. And I think that,
Clearly not.
and I think that he's going to have a strong team around him. The thing I was bringing up about Steve Bannon, who is, Steve Bannon, Harvard graduate, London School of Economics graduate, certainly not a stupid man, but apparently maybe nuts. And the point I'm trying to make is that I don't know. I just don't know, because I'm looking at these sources and I'm like, you're telling different stories. Either he's a white supremacist or he isn't. Either he said these things or he didn't. And I don't know who to believe and who to trust anymore. When I'm reading the wires now about with the AP and Reuters and all these things, people you're supposed to trust. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe you anymore. Like, I just don't know if I believe anything you say. And that goes for both sides. The reason I say that is because I looked at this particular election. A good example, and this is an example I bring, and some people are not going to like it, but it is the example nonetheless. There's a lot of people scared of Donald Trump, and I get it. I get it completely. I get why Muslims might be scared of Donald Trump. I get why Latinos might be scared of Donald Trump, even though a third of them voted for him. I get that. I get why these certain groups. The one group that I'm a little confused about is the LBGQT, and I think I got all. Again, I always make fun of it because I don't know. There's always a new letter on there. I don't understand that. Now I understand that people are afraid of Mike Pence. Mike Pence is crazy, right? Mike Pence is the vice president. There's no more toothless position in the entire fucking administration than the vice president. Just absolutely fucking worthless.
Unless
right?
Trump,
exactly. Unless
something
Trump
bad
eats shit.
Gets impeached.
And gets impeached or resigns, which is possible. I think there's a lot of people who think he's going to resign at some point.
Really?
Yeah. Not immediately, but he'll just be like, because I will stand by, just as an aside, that I don't think he runs again.
Really? You don't think so?
No, because I don't think he wants to lose. Like, I think he's like, I won, I'm out. You know, and just does his one term is very James Polk, like, I'm not going to run again. You can go fuck yourselves. The thing that I don't understand with this particular community is that I was astonished when I watched I know that party, right? And I know that people that believe like in progress, like I do, are not the majority in that party. We exist, but we're maybe like 25% of the party. I believe in gay marriage. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I believe in all these things. These are not things that are on the Republican platform. For the presidential candidate to go up there and be like, I don't want to paraphrase, but basically putting his support out for gay and transgender people and being like, we want them in our party and we care about them and all these kinds of things. That's what he said, right? And then I saw a picture a few weeks ago at a North Carolina rally where he has a fucking gay pride flag holding it up on stage. Did you see that picture anywhere?
No.
Wouldn't that have been an interesting picture to see? To maybe like ramp down the rhetoric that this man's gonna put fucking gay people in fucking prison camps? And this is what I'm talking about, why I don't trust anyone anymore.
Yeah.
Because yeah, he said things about Muslims and he said things about Mexicans. I understand that, but that doesn't mean he said or is gonna do things to every group of fucking marginalized people. And he came out and there's evidence to the contrary. So when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, you know what? That's disappointing to me because you guys had a chance. You guys had a chance to nail him on X, Y, and Z, and you did, but you made shit up about him. You know, or at least turn a deaf ear to make it seem like gay people should be afraid of him too. And if you're afraid of Mike Pence, or you're afraid of the Supreme Court overturning all these things. It happened on 60 Minutes too, where he's like, I don't care about gay marriage at the federal level. It's done. But still, people are going to run around making these things. And so that's what I'm saying is that I get why people are scared of him. I understand that. I'm a little scared of him too. And I'm a white, straight man in San Francisco, you know? But the overwhelming fear, a doctrine of fear that the media had been going through, I'm like, this is dishonest. This particular part of this coverage of Donald Trump is dishonest. And so how can I trust anything you guys say about anything at all? And that's where it comes with Steve Bannon. That's where it comes with Hillary Clinton and all these things. I'm like, I don't know who to trust anymore. You guys all have an agenda. There's no one saying what's actually true and what's actually false. And it's scary to me. And that is one of those things where I'm like, I look at this situation and I'm like, this is how we got here because no one trusts you. So anything the media said on writ large en masse was something that the people were like, we don't trust you. 70% of voters said that they don't believe the media. 70%. 7 out of 10 people don't believe the news.
Part of the thing you're saying here is something going back to it before where you're like, we don't trust you. We don't trust you. You're talking about the media, but this is also, of course, why Hillary lost because she's a career politician. How can you trust what you're going to say, right? And it's the same thing can be applied to Trump. Now, he won because he's an outlier. He's this different guy. He's in nobody's pockets. He's going to say what he thinks. He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. He's going to have funny press conferences. That's great. But it is that thing of where it's everybody, both sides of the argument, picking and choosing what they want to believe.
Yes.
Where it is a thing of like, he's not really going to fucking export every Muslim and he's not going to build a wall and da-da-da-da. But like on the same side, you can't be a LGBT gay person and be like, okay, well, he's totally fine. For me, a photo of him with the flag is pandering. It's pandering. It's very much who you align yourself with, right? Like if tomorrow one of us was like, by the way, fuck gays, fuck all these people, and we were all like, all right, we're still going to hang out with you. We're still going to have you in the shows. We're not going to make a big deal about we're not going to question your beliefs. I guess is even a better way to say it, right? Because obviously we don't agree on the same things. Nothing is egregious is what I'm saying. But if tomorrow Tim was like, yeah, I don't like gay people, period, on a Game Over Greggy show, and we were like, All right, well, till next week, we're on Patreon. Like, we would question you and go. And the fact that Pence is like, no, conversion therapy's a thing. And Trump's like, all right, you're VP. Anyways, moving on. It's like, whoa, wait, what? Like, whoa, where's the breakdown? And like, why don't you talk to each other?
Right,
and then,
I don't even know, per Mike Pence, I'm not even sure, like, if that's something he still believes. I'm not sure if that's, and you could say, like, and I'm not defending Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence is fucking frightening. Like, for reasons far beyond that. I think Mike Pence is a nut job. But not my kind of Republican, certainly. And when he was chosen, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, like Mike Pence?
But he
okay.
was.
Yeah, but he was. And that was weird to me. I'm like, there was a fucking million choices that would have been better. I thought he should have picked the Democrat personally. But the thing that was about it was like, I don't even know where to read now and what to trust. Where I'd be like, when did he say this?
But that's
did
the whole
he
thing,
change
you
his
can't-
opinion? Like, Barack Obama was against gay marriage until 2012. So certainly a person can change their opinions and be accepted. So is he I'm trying to feel these things out. And what I'm realizing in the sleepless nights I'm having where I'm reading and watching and trying to digest information is like the end result of this is distrust. That's the end result, is that like I don't trust any of you. You know?
But you're talking about media.
Media, and I don't trust even what people are saying now.
I don't trust you, Greg.
For instance,
that's fine, but I'm talking about I don't trust Trump.
For instance,
I'm going to drain the swamp. All right, Giuliani, Gingrich, and in terms of the environment, this guy who doesn't believe in global warming, I'm like, this all sounds
it's also
very
like,
by the book
guys,
Republican.
I'm not defending Donald Trump. I'm not defending him at all. In
Well,
fact,
I'm just saying that I don't trust anyone involved with this thing.
But the point I'm trying to make here with this specific thing is that I don't know like what to read and like where to go, and I don't trust anyone that's saying anything. Like, and the reason I say that is like I was really distressed by all of the accounts of people spray painting a swastika on something, or giving a hard time to an immigrant or a Muslim or anything like that. I'm like, that's fucking terrible. You know? Then what do I see? A piece about how one of the main stories about this, about a woman in Louisiana, a Muslim woman, getting her headscarf pulled off wherever. She's made it up. Now I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, but
I'm like, God damn it.
That's
Now I'm
the
like,
problem, though, is that it's like you can't let those things spoil the fact that this is really happening.
oh no, I know what's really happened. What I'm saying to him is now that's so that because I'm like, this is fucking terrible.
It is
now
terrible.
I see
It
every
is.
one of them, and honestly, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
So I'm on the
See
same
the doubt,
side.
for
I
sure.
see a story of a gay man, and he got hit in the face, quote unquote, with a bottle.
Oh,
and he's
I-
super
in
bloody.
Santa
and all
Cruz,
this.
this whole-
I don't know if it was Santa Cruz, but then there was
saw that
a
too.
police video of him hitting himself in the face with the bottle. That doesn't matter. That guy, he's a fucking idiot. That's a him
he
case.
poisoned the well.
But it's like, but that's the problem, is we can't let it poison the well. And that's why it's like when we were talking about these people being scared and being frightened and all this stuff, it's because they are the victims of all this stuff. Like the people that this did happen to, we need to not create a victim shaming society where we look at this and it's like, well, this guy made it up. So is this person making it up? And I think that is the fear, is that these people are scared that if they were actually attacked, which is a totally thing that could happen, they wouldn't be able to say anything because people aren't going to believe them, so they're scared to say things.
Right,
Like,
but
that is a horrifying future. Of what this world could
I
be.
agree with you, but I'm just being totally intellectually honest. Where it's like, I read those reports for 36 hours or something. I'm like, this is fucking terrible, man. He's got to say something about this. You know, someone's got to do something about this. But then I see all this shit, you know, where I'm like, God, I literally was like, God damn it, you know, like already now everyone's gonna point to this. And the gay guy and all these other things, and also the dearth of kind of coverage of like, you know, Trump supporters getting the shit beat out of them, which is happening too. And like, I'm like, why
It's
is
just
this
fodder? It's fuel. It's ammunition.
And
right,
I'm
for
like,
the
why
side,
is
for
this
the wrong
happening?
argument.
And like, why are people lying about it? And like, this is what I'm talking about. It's just totally, I don't trust a fucking word anyone says now about anything to do with this political environment. And that's a huge problem, because the whole foundation of the system, which you're talking about, is decaying. The system is breaking down in a major way, and this is when scary shit starts to happen. But I also am concerned that we won't just let it. We have to just let it play out now, like, or we just blow the fucking thing up. And I'm not willing or able to and wanting to do that. I truly believe that what's going to end up happening is very little, and that a lot of this fear and all this kind of stuff is going to dissipate until 2020, when fucking Elizabeth Warren races against fucking crazy
Rock.
person X, you know?
It'll be The Rock. It'll be
So-
The Rock, Kevin
That'd be
Hart.
great.
The Rock's
Rock
got to
would
be
win.
Oprah
Democrat.
should actually.
If The
run.
Rock ran, The Rock would win. I firmly believe
Absolutely.
that.
Can you imagine if Rock runs in 2020?
I can.
I'm going up against Donald Trump or
Doesn't
whatever
matter
the
who he's
successor
going up
is.
against. He would win, because that is what we're dealing with.
It's now a
I don't
popularity
want to
contest.
hear
Reality
bad
TV is taking
things.
over.
I don't
We're
wanna
dealing
hear
with
bad
people,
things about
and people
him.
vote.
There,
that
no,
way.
there's nothing. The Rock would be
Okay.
great.
I would
Zero.
legit vote for The Rock. I
So-
don't know his politics.
So I
but
think that
I love
we
him, man.
said the takeaway fucking 40 minutes ago. The big takeaway now for our global audience is this. The 2015 elections in Britain were overwhelmingly conservative. No one saw it coming. Tory. Brexit, conservative, won against all the polls. In Austria next month, a far-right coalition is going to win. Then in France, Marine Le Pen is going to run, and she's probably going to win. And then they're going to vote to leave the EU, and then they're going to leave the EU, and then the EU's gone. And all of a sudden like that, complete political turmoil in Western Europe. Oh, and then in Germany, there's going to be another far-right party coming up. The thing is that we are dealing with right-wing reactionary politics to left-wing politics, to standard generational left-wing politics for a long time, and it's not going to stop here. So if people are really afraid of this stuff, and I don't blame you, because what I want is moderate politics. You know, like, I can't get everything I want. I want to get rid of the income tax. It can't happen. Yeah, can we lower it? Okay. You know, like, compromise, all these kinds of things. But what's happening is very polarizing, very crazy shit happening. And it's not only in the United States. This was a predictable thing. A lot of people did see this coming, that if you listen carefully enough. And so I'm concerned about those kinds of things, but I am concerned about not trusting a fucking word anyone says now. I don't trust any article I read. And I'm not saying people I know or love. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying when I see like this X, Y, and Z happen, I'm like, I don't know if I believe you.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know if I believe you anymore, because there's all these examples from both sides, for both candidates, for both groups of people. You just lied about them. And they're still lying now. So I'm like, this situation's muddy as hell, man. This situation sucks.
Yes, and that is the best end cap to this conversation.
Yeah, so
this situation sucks.
So, you know,
can we just get to January and get going and see what he does and how this goes?
I think, because
it's still another month and a half of talking about what might happen, kind of, sort of.
Exactly. And I want to encourage everyone out there. You know, I want to say a few things too. Like, I didn't like the way people talked about Tim, and I want to say that or whatever. Not everyone out there is going to agree with you. And I think I'm just more used to it in the political sphere because I say things that are unpopular in my circle. I don't really care about what people think about what I say in terms of politics. I don't. So it's one of those things where I don't want to see people lobbing insults at anyone over their politics. This is part of how we got to this point, by the way. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is that I hope you were engaged. And understand that if you didn't vote and you're upset about this, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you have no fucking right to be upset about anything. And no one wants to fucking hear from you at all. Like, period. I don't want to hear you. No one wants to hear you. You're part of the problem too. The apathetic party of the United States is a fucking huge problem. And if you're here, you know, crying about it now, how many people are in the streets probably crying about it now they didn't vote? You should be ashamed of yourselves. But if you did get involved, even if the candidate, my candidate didn't win, Johnson, you know, not that I thought he was going to win, but we cast a vote. 4% of the people in the United States voted for him. Yeah. It's a pretty significant group of people. So I understand what it's, and I've lost many elections as a Republican. So, you know, but I'm glad that people were engaged, and I think we started interesting conversations on the show. And we're not going to talk about politics again for a long time, I don't think. But I'm glad that we had this conversation.
I have a feeling we're going to talk about politics a lot coming January.
Well, if something happens, I'm looking for things to talk about now. But when something happens that's worth talking about, we'll talk about it. Sure. But I wanted to cover this or whatever. But I hope people were engaged. I hope people learned something. I hope people were, at least, even if you don't disagree with me or even think I'm lying to you, and that would be perfectly reasonable as well, I hope that you found interesting podcasts or books or articles or whatever to listen to. All I know is that I've gotten outrageous amounts of feedback from people that were very positive about our ability to talk about this stuff instead of pretending it didn't exist. This is way more important than anything we do on this show or other shows, period. So I'm glad that we were able to talk about that. And I appreciate Miss Movie's patience as this topic was as long as the rest of the show.
I'm glad I could be a fly on the wall for this conversation, and I was really hoping for a Colin Moriarty monologue, soliloquy of some sorts, and that's what I got. So I'm happy.
And
I disagree with you on one point, though.
What's that?
Is that casting the Metal Gear movie slightly more important than this? I think, just in my opinion, because Steve Harvey needs to work.
Love you, Steve Harvey.
I appreciate you, standing up for me. And it is hard.
The only reason I didn't do it publicly is because I was afraid I was going to bring more heat on you.
No, I know, and I get it. And that it gets complicated. And again, I've spoken about this in many ways on different shows and whatever. And it's hard because me and you disagree. I think as people, we just disagree on a lot of stuff. And it's like, it's very hard because I am on shows where I'm speaking to you and defending myself against arguments that I don't agree with and that I know that I'm right about, but you also know that you're right about, and you're way better at speaking than I am. And so that comes off really hard sometimes, and people, are not usually on my side of it, which totally makes sense. But I appreciate everybody kind of listening to both sides and putting up with it. And I want to give a shout out to Kevin, because I think that Kevin is the person that really, really did the legwork. Like Kevin.
Oh yeah, every Colin Moriarty live.
Yeah, absolutely. And he looked into the stuff, and Kevin was the guy that we disagree. We get upset, and me and Kevin are very similar minded about this stuff. So we think about it. It's like, I can't believe Colin said that stuff. Kevin's the one that's like, well, I'm going to look into it so that next time Colin brings this up, I can tell him why he's wrong. And I didn't do that.
Yeah, Kevin's good at it.
You know, and like I appreciate that.
I backhanded Kevin once or twice, but other than that, it was pretty productive, right, Kevin? Well, to the point of the matter, people had pointed out, and I'm sure you saw it too, Kevin, even if you want to be sarcastic about it, that people really did respect that Kevin and I had these very long-winded conversations with each other without ever getting to the point of disrespect or yelling or screaming.
Plenty of people on Colin Moriarty Live in the comments, or I guess like the Reddit comments that get put together, were the fact of like, oh man, I thought they were going to come to blows, and I was like, I was there, and don't get me wrong, I hate seeing my friends yell at each other, but I knew they weren't going to come to blows. I understand that they respect each other's positions and where it's coming from, and that's always been the weird thing. I mean, you're talking about defending Tim, but like defending for me to defend you, and the fact of like, you've been consistent the entire way through of what you believe. So then on election night, when you're like, hey, this is interesting, and why is this? And people are like, well, don't do this, don't do that. Like, well, this is what he's been doing forever. Like, I don't understand how now you can be offended by it.
Yeah, people don't understand one specific thing about me. You telling me to shut up is just going to make me talk more. So, and that's just dead fucking serious.
We all do.
If you tell
we all know that very
If you
well.
tell me that you don't want to hear about politics on Twitter, I'll just tweet about politics for an entire month without mentioning a game. So, I bow to no man. You understand that? So it's
like
one of those,
Lord of the Rings.
But I didn't like the way I was treated on election. I didn't like the way I was treated on election day and the days after either, because I didn't think I did anything wrong, and I know I didn't actually. I mean, I went through my tweets a million times and read them. I'm like, you're just upset because you lost, and that's what I was saying. There are a lot of crybabies out there. There are a lot of sore losers out there. I get it. I've lost elections.
Can you guys please tweet at Colin and tell him not to like Marvel movies? I think it'll make everything a lot better.
Yeah. Touche.
If you didn't know, this was topic 1 of the Game Over Greggy show. Topic number 2, Miss Movies.
Hey,
What do you have for us?
it's me. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I'm going to present my topic in the style of Colin Moriarty. So here we go. I went to theater
on your
school.
spectacles.
Oh,
I went to
God,
theater
there's
school.
2 of them now. First off, try your
on
old
my
fashioned. You
spectacles.
have your old fashioned
To
there
be fair, from
truly
my
Colin.
perspective, there's 3 of them.
Cheers. Thanks for coming again.
Thank you.
Cheers. I'm not going to cheers you with
Cheers.
water. It's bad luck. But
Cheers.
cheers.
I have coffee.
All
I'm
right.
just in my brain. I'm cheersing everyone, except for Kevin.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this topic for a long time, and I want to see what you guys think about it. Muscle memory. Muscle memory is defined on Wikipedia as being used synonymously with motor learning, which is a form of procedural memory that involves consolidating a specific motor task into memory through repetition. When a movement is repeated over time, a long-term muscle memory is created for the task, eventually allowing it to be performed without conscious effort. So some examples include riding a bicycle, typing on a keyboard, typing in a pen, playing a musical instrument, martial arts, dancing, commercial jingles, songs. So I want to know, when does muscle memory kick in for you, and what other memories go along with that?
Commercial jingles and songs
Yes.
fall into this category?
They absolutely do. Have you ever seen when there's like a documentary, and I can't remember the name of it, but where they go to a nursing home and they start playing music and people can actually like start singing with them, people that never speak. And
The
that would
Notebook
be,
was the movie.
there you go.
Remember
The
this?
classic document.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you
All the memories just come back. So for me, it happens whenever I go to a USC football game. So anytime I go to a USC football game, I was a USC song girl. So I know all of the cues for the football team. So I know when it's third down. I don't have to be watching it. I know exactly what's happening because nothing has changed.
What happens when it's third down?
When it's third down for us,
Yeah, song girls
for the
or boys. If there's a song, is there a song boy too?
there's
I think she
yell
means for the
leaders.
Trojans. I think
For
she
the
means when it's a
Trojans,
third
yes.
down for the
When
Trojans.
it's a third
Right,
down,
what do
we
we
do
do?
the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Charge. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Okay, so that's what we do on third
Okay.
down. But
Did
there's
you ever
certain
do,
things.
hey, it's cold in here.
There must be some Toros in the atmosphere. I said
That was the
bird.
John North High Huskies. Oh, whatever.
Wait, you guys? Oh no.
I didn't go to USC because
I was gonna say you guys just ripped off Bring It On, but you went to school in like 1974. You didn't rip off Bring It On. That was way before you.
Very true. I was in high school in the 90s when you were a zygote. Those pictures you've been putting out on Twitter lately, Oh boy.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You enjoying them?
There's a
walk
steady
down?
progression upward for you, my friend.
Yeah, no, I definitely have aged well. I've definitely aged well. There's some more zingers coming too.
Oh, great.
I can give you the personal look later. Don't worry.
Hard to believe, and I'm sorry for the non sequitur.
Oh,
Hard
as
to
if the
believe
Game Over Greggy show never goes off topic.
that you can have so many unique looks as a child,
Or some Kevin's putting
and
them
they
up right
could
now.
all make you look slightly like the formative years of a serial killer.
Sure. Oh yeah. There's a
And
lot
they're
of
all-
documentary footage there for
They're
you.
here. They're
oh,
all
yeah.
they're all there. I saved
It's
them
in
the
the
hard drive.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
You
The
got some
eyebrows.
fierce eyebrows.
I got
as a
one
kid.
coming up. Let me tell you, I got one coming up. Colin Moriarty. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Playing the alto sax. And let me tell
Stop.
you, it's a profile pick.
What'd you have against the tenor sax?
You know what I mean? It was just
big.
yeah. It was
Soprano sax.
Exactly. No,
Kenny
small.
G.
No. Okay. All right. Everybody,
Sorry.
stick with it here. I'm just saying, this photo looks good. I got the huge cheeks out there. I got the huge fat neck, the huge fat body, and I'm going to town in this thing.
Tiny little sex.
On my way to what would become a silver medal at band. In band, I want you to know.
Silver.
It was the first, I didn't play sports, thank you, Kevin, where you got the individual trophies. So when I got the silver medal, I was happy enough with that, all right? It's not bronze. At least, you know what I mean? Because I didn't commit to this, Colin. I'm not practicing the saxophone every day. I was able to fool these idiots into giving me a silver medal. I was excited. I opened up the day we got it. I was walking out. Somebody bumped me. I dropped it in the mud. True story.
Is it
That's
still
a
in the
great
mud?
story. Thanks, Greg.
It's still there.
I almost cried, and Mom cleaned it up for me.
Okay, so muscle
I'm
memory.
sure you did.
Back to
I
muscle
feel like
memory.
for me, video games is kind of the easiest answer. Where there's so many games and like even just consoles, like turning them on and just kind of the process of doing stuff. I think the most recent thing would be like PlayStation, going through the menus.
Sure,
like, it's just
sure.
like,
You know exactly what you
where
want.
to go. Really, with the PSP and PS3 with the cross media bar, like I knew how to just freaking go through that thing, and it was like I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just kind of happening. And besides that, like games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater or Amplitude, a lot of rhythm games.
Yeah.
You just get lost. You get in that trance moment. It is just muscle memory at that point.
No, that's
where
a
you're
good one.
just
That's
kinda
what I jumped to
going.
too, because I jumped to how it used to be a thing I remember of like trying to get comfortable and then doing the thing where I drape the controller over my head. There's been photos posted of this online, and now I just default to that. It feels weird to not play that way. And then even now playing Watch Dogs, jumping into Watch Dogs controls like GTA, right? So without the game having to tell me if I'm running, the first time I'm playing, I run up to a car and hit triangle, and I'm in the car. I know what to do.
Yeah.
So what other memories does that bring up for you though? Because like when did you start doing this motion?
I don't know. And it never made sense as to why it really started. Like I said, I guess I just couldn't get comfortable on the couch for a long time. So I started doing.
It couldn't have started until the PS3 era, the wireless controller.
Good point. Great point. Yeah. And so I put it over my thing, and it didn't make any sense until now.
You're one of those gamers that don't give a fuck. You're
I'm in
just
love
like,
with a girl named Jen, and she means the world to me. And she cuddles up perfectly next to me when I do it. I've been waiting for her. My body knew she was coming one day, Tim.
I've been waiting
I was just thinking that.
For a girl like you to come into my life. Don't leave me
You're gonna get a
hanging.
copyright
Sorry.
strike. Stop. Muscle memory is fascinating. It's funny you say this because I was thinking about this the other day with typing, and you brought it up. Where once in a while I have this very cognizant thing where I'm like, how the fuck do I even know how to do
Right.
this? I've been, we got our first computer in what the late, early '90s or something in my house. So I was like, okay, I know how to do this now. And like I said before, my dad used to make fun of me in high school because I had a Sony Vaio, this really expensive Sony Vaio. The keys, I used to use it so much, the keyboard had no letters on it. Like maybe like a few of the, like Z was still there and stuff
Sure.
like that. And I just knew like where everything was and how it feels. And we do take that kind of stuff for granted. Imagine there are other keyboards other than QWERTY keyboards, Dvorak keyboards where like DVORAK are the top instead of QWERTY. And I think they're using like Eastern Europe and some other places. And imagine typing on that. I remember in my high school, there were keyboards with the letters. They were just like these computers that were put away, like no one used them. I don't know.
Alphabetical
Yeah,
order?
they were alphabetical.
Yes.
They were like 386s with like out, like, and I was
Sure.
like, how the fuck? Like that
don't
would take
they have
years
to-
for me to figure that out.
They had to get rid of those because people would type too quickly and then it couldn't keep up with them. That's what my typing teacher told me when I was in
I
eighth
don't
grade.
believe that. That sounds like bullshit.
That sounds like an urban legend.
No, that
knows?
was
I've
that was
never
the
thought
theory,
about
right? Isn't that the
the-
theory behind the QWERTY keyboard? Is that when early typewriters rather,
Right.
would get stuck if people typed too fast, and so they thought,
So they designed to
I'm
slow
gonna,
you
yeah, they
down?
designed to slow you
Yes.
down, and then people just figured it out and learned it, and then it kind of screwed them. That's what I heard. at
Doogie
least.
Howser.
Because I feel like that's the type of thing that we as a society would have broke if that was true. Because now it's like we would have transitioned over to something else to be quick and efficient. Because it's the type of people
I think
we
it's just
are.
one of those things. It's like we're still on using
Well,
mouse prowess.
now it's just natural
You know?
again,
Yeah.
right? I think typing for sure is one of mine because I remember, doing all the classes throughout high school or whatever when it was like go and take your typing class or whatever, and I was great and I did a gajillion words a minute, and then they would cover my hands and I would fall apart because I was looking at the keys, right? Or so I thought, and now it is that thing where I'm typing and I'm like, oh right, I'm not looking at the keys, but it's also that thing of if you put down a keyboard all blank in front of me, I don't know if I could. It would be a lot of this, right? Of trying to walk it through in my head, but like off the top of my head, I don't think I'd know where.
But
the keys
but
are.
that's a mental block, right? Because you really look like I just put my hands on the keyboard and started typing. Like
I'm talking about now. Yeah.
But yeah, knowing that things aren't there, I think would be the more mental block for anyone that was typing now. It's funny. It's kind of mysterious to me how we've come to accept the QWERTY keyboard because again, it isn't the only type and. That to your point, like why hasn't someone come and been like we can if everyone just dedicated themselves to learning this different keyboard, we could type faster. It's the same thing with the people out there trying to get like different calendars and like there are people that are like this calendar system makes no fucking sense.
Yes.
So like there's a different calendar system we can use or like and I'm like but no, we like our calendar system is just fine. It doesn't make any sense or like the imperial measurement standard that we use here, which we're the only ones to use it. And I love that we're the only ones to use it because it makes us so weird, and it makes people are so angry about the United States around the rest of the world. I love that this is one of those things where we almost got there. People forget in the late '90s, early 2000s, we almost switched to metric, and that was like a thing that was going to happen.
I remember them
like,
trying to teach that shit in my school. Get the fuck out of here
should've.
with your communist rhetoric. I don't need it.
I'll tell you what the most annoying thing is that when you have a keyboard, you're typing on a keyboard in a foreign country that's almost like our keyboards, but it's like 3 letters off. And so every word has one thing that's completely wrong.
Nick, that's just you.
So I had that in Morocco. Like in Morocco, it's not the American keyboard. It's obviously I don't know what
The
it is.
Moroccan keyboard.
I assume so, but maybe it's something different. But yeah, it had a few of the letters were just completely just off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. It's maddening because you're typing, you're looking, and it just immediately stops you, and that anger starts to build. As like, why is that B and A? I don't understand. Like. It's trippy.
Man, I've never thought about keyboards like this. Like, there's been many shower times with Tim where I've just been there and I've been thinking about like, man, the Japanese sure have a lot more characters than we do. How do they type things? And that'll just get me lost in thought. I never actually look it up or anything.
And you get out of the shower, you're still covered in soap.
they
You're
have-
like, fuck.
They have two different two different written languages.
kanji
Kanji
and,
is like more for like syllabic, I guess, like syllabic stuff. Is that how you would say it?
Sure.
I think so.
But still, I mean, do their keyboards have those characters on them?
No, they don't. Like I saw many computers in Japan when I was there that were using totally QWERTY keyboards.
And exactly, and that's one of those things. I never looked it up like after the shower, but there's been multiple showers that I've thought about this, but I've never thought about like why is the QWERTY keyboard designed the way that it is? Like who decided what letter goes where?
Mr. QWERTY.
I thought it was that the I mean it could be to slow people down and to keep the little typewriter typey things, the metal things from
That makes
each
sense.
other. But the thing about the keyboard, like it is designed to use. We're seeing it here. Kevin's bringing it up. The letters that we're supposed to use infrequently, I think, are on the outside, or letters that I think are like I've read about this at some point. I'm sure that
Sure.
where like letters that you would tap twice, P's and L's, for instance, are on the outside. But think about like it's no coincidence that Q, Z, and X are tucked away in the corner. In the middle is like some properly used consonants.
Right in the middle, G.
And then the vowels are all on the top.
Yeah.
So it's except for A is obviously in the corner next to caps lock. So I'm sure that there's a lot of nerdy ass shit out there about why it's written, but I think some of it has to do with like what we use the most and what we don't use the most, and the direction in which your fingers travel.
But like, man, just imagine being in that room of the dudes that are like, okay, which letters do we use the most? We gotta
it was
think
some
about
sort of
this.
committee and it took like
Way
5
too
weeks.
long.
It was like a
just
it was like a
someone
Or it was one
bucket.
guy who sat there. Yeah, you never know. Get them home keys.
fascinating.
There's a little
See if you
indent.
can bring up the Dvorak keyboard, DVORAK.
But do you have any other memories that go along with it? Like I remember when I first took this class and all the ridiculous things that we had to do.
I remember typing class.
Yeah,
in middle school.
Typing was weird for me because I was really young when it first became kind of a thing with the computers and stuff, and my school didn't really have it, so we only had pieces of paper that they like would teach us on, like, fake ass paper. And then I didn't have a computer or anything in my house, so
fuck is
I
that?
was super late. Like I didn't learn to type until I was in like probably high school, like ninth grade.
Oh, I remember being in high school, and it was a social studies teacher whose name I don't remember. No, Mr. Flynn was the gym teacher. He was cool because Mr. Flynn, you could tell, just did not give a fuck.
Shout out to Mr. Flynn.
Shout out, Mr. Flynn. Tim, you remember when I showed you all the photos from prom my senior year? He was the guy I kept bringing random things to, and he was very angry in every
really
photo.
didn't like
he
it,
did not like that at all.
Yeah, he wasn't
but anyways, I remember when the guy walked over and he's like, I was taking the test and I was failing the test. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Because my hands are covered." I'm like, I cheat. I never do what you say. I look at the keys, and this is how I know to do it. So now I don't.
And then on the other hand, there's all my other friends are like the type of motherfuckers that are like, I'm the fastest typer in the world. I'm Sean Finnegan. And I'm just like, dude.
Sean Finnegan also.
Fast typer?
Sean Finnegan claims he's the fastest.
He also
typer in the
claimed to be
world.
faster
so
than
does Courage,
Kevin.
So does every
Jury's
single
still
person
out.
I know claims they're the fastest typer. And to be fair, they're pretty fast.
Well, what are
typers.
we judging this off of, though? Is there an accuracy?
Words per minute.
Yeah, there's like weird. It's accuracy. There's like websites you can do that look speed type stuff.
Oh, interesting,
It
okay.
stresses me out. There's nothing that gives me anxiety like those typing.
Yeah, it's like
Because I'm
an
horrible
SAT
at it.
course.
I just can't do it, and that's my thing. Thank God for spell check. You talking about the Morocco keyboards? That's just my normal life. I just kind of write things, and then before I send the email, I just go back and right click and just clickety do.
Yeah.
You want to know what's annoying as fuck? When you're writing something and someone's over your shoulder, and like you make a typo, you make the typo, you keep going like you made a typo back there. I'm like, I know. I have a system for how I write emails or text or whatever.
Yeah, fucks.
Well, text actually, I just send away. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's
Autocorrect's broken me. I don't give a shit. You want to make it fucking? I'm trying to write something and you just change it to a completely different word. You win. All right.
I
You
turn
win.
off autocorrect. I just live my
See, I
life.
feel like it helps more than it hurts. I feel like there's
Really?
plenty of times I'm writing and it does autocorrect to what I'm trying to say.
Not for me.
But then
I
it's
don't
that,
know.
then it is.
It
Think about
messes up
spelling the
my
word
flow.
linguistics. That's not happening.
Linguistics?
Yeah, or any
I feel like
any monos.
linguistics is
You think you can spell linguistics right now?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put
Lay
you
it
on
on
the
me.
spot.
Well, I've listened to Cunning Linguist my entire life, so I know how to spell that.
Scholastic.
You're talking a lot. You're talking a lot about knowing how to spelling without spelling.
Linguistics?
Yeah.
You don't
L
have to spell linguistics.
Y.
It's not a big deal.
N G.
Is there really a Y in the second one? I would have
S.
said I, right? I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. Okay.
So that's why I'm wrong.
See, you're spelling it the way cunning linguists spell it.
I am spelling like the Cunning Linguist spell it. You are correct.
That's awesome. That
Did you realize it wasn't spelled that way?
they've broken you. I love that. That's
So,
awesome.
Interesting
It's all
note.
good.
Kevin brought up Dvorak keyboard things that I was just looking at as he was bringing them up. I always assumed that. I don't know why I assumed this because I've seen Dvorak keyboards, but I always assumed DVORAK was in the corner with QWERTY. That's where like an acronym, but it's not.
Sure.
You can see it. You can see it here. This is what a Dvorak keyboard looks like.
Kevin's showing it on the screen
and
right
so
now. I
the
assume.
argument-
Whoa, my God!
The argument.
What
about-
kind of magic is that, Kevin?
The argument about the
believe
Dvorak
in
keyboard
magic,
is that it's supposed to be the most efficient way to type. So to Tim's point, like,
How's he never done this
Because there should be Kevin, you brought up a thing where it shows you where the letter, like where your hand
know.
like goes.
They
Yeah,
can
it's right
see
there.
it, but now we can't see it anymore.
So I don't know if you can make
I
that any
care.
bigger so people can actually see it. But the idea with those red lines is like your fingers all start there, and those are the directions your fingers typically go in from that letter. So it's supposed to be like the most efficient way to type.
Ah.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
so that's the thing is like, so going back to what we were talking about, like, yeah, we're a bunch of lazy fucks that learned it one way and don't want to relearn it. And
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But we
Yes.
had a second chance with smartphones. Like when that came along, why didn't they change it there? And then
Now,
Good point.
So here's one for you. Smartphones reminds me of PSN messaging on the PlayStation 3. That I could do with my eyes closed, just based on clicks, do all this different stuff. And I remember
was
when
that
PS
T9?
No. Well, I think you could have had that way, but they had the real QWERTY keyboard. But I mean, the fact of like there was a little bit of lag, so you had to anticipate. Remember this, and like you knew when to stop doing it, hit X, go down, do all these different things. And then they put out PS4. And what is it calling? I remember
The trigger now is like
the trigger doesn't
Changes
capitalize
it to
any.
capital.
Does
Yeah.
it? That was the thing. They made a switch there where it totally fucked me up, and I had to relearn how to type on a PS4.
Well, that was what I was going to say with the muscle memory thing is that it does have, there is these quaint things that you do every day when you really think about it. On PS4, it's a good example. When they updated PS4 and updated the menus, I used to have a muscle memory of like hitting the PlayStation button, going down twice, whatever, going to the left and like hitting X and shutting it off. And now like it's not like that anymore. And I had to figure out, now I can do it again, but you have to like, it's totally different. That kind of shit throws me off. And I'm not sure that a lot of like the QA people or people that are just looking at the design of these things think about like how like they're like, well, this makes more sense. And I'm like, but this isn't the way it's been. So like that's a problem for me. But NES Classic's another great example of muscle memory. I've been messing around with that a lot this past weekend, and man, like I just know how to play these games. I mean, even games like that I haven't played in years, Kid Icarus or something. I'm like, which I love. I'm like, well, I understand exactly these. You don't forget how to play these games, and the same thing with I played hockey for many years, and ice skating is one of those things. I don't skate. I used to skate every day of my life for many years, pretty much, and then I've only been on the ice a few times in my 20s. And every time I'm like, well, this is going to be it. I'm going to eat shit now. And you just get on there and I know exactly how to skate. Like you'll never forget it.
Well, that's what was so depressing about getting the bike is that I know how to ride a bike. I used to be really good at riding a bike, and I can still ride the bike. But like I talk about on Colin Moriarty Live, the first time I came to that first hill, I'm like, oh, right. I remember this. This is where you stand up and go like this back and forth. And I stood up and man, my legs didn't, my mind remembered, but the legs did not. No. I sat back down and kicked it into the highest
so
gear. My
funny.
legs are just swinging around.
See, that's where video games are totally different because there's none of that shit.
Oh, sure, yeah,
But,
yeah.
like when I was talking about like Tony Hawk, like really specifically, like start down X to restart the run, or like Smash Bros. Just there's that you hit start and then like it's just weird, like I can't even explain it now, but like a thing you would do, or Grand Theft Auto 3 or Vice City where it's like those codes. Where it's just shoulder button combinations and the freaking like twirling the D-pad.
It was when I was obsessed with the acclaimed WWF games, and there was WWF Warzone or whatever, and I got that on my N64 and played it nonstop. It was crazy, and I was like the crazy kid who had the Prima guide before I got the N64, trying to memorize, because that was when it was all combo based and totally a pain in the ass to play. And I remember going to my friend Jason's house, and he had it on PS1, and I was like, oh, fuck, okay. And I jumped in, and my brain was able to black out like what the buttons actually were, and it was all muscle memory of doing it. And I remember, I'll never forget giving him his like third Stone Cold Stunner, and I was beating the shit out of this guy. Missed movies. Oh, there was no chance of him coming back. And he started.
What?
Huh?
At what?
WWF Warzone on the PS1, Acclaim's last WWF game before the license jumped over to THQ, and then everything happened. But I have the third stunner, Tim. If I'm lying, I'm dying.
Yeah.
He starts singing Madonna's "This Used to Be My Playground," and I was like,
A great song.
I appreciate that
From
a
A
lot.
League of Their Own.
League of Their Own, great film.
But you brought up
Great
something
film.
interesting a second ago with the lag.
You know, Jason. Oh no.
No. The lag point is very, very. It's an astute observation there, because that is where I think the muscle memory really comes into play. Because there's some things it's like, all right, cool, you do this a lot, that happens, but it's the weird shit that goes on where it's like when you have to wait for the pages to load or whatever. I think for me with my car, like anything that you do all the time, it's like gonna be eventually a muscle memory situation. But every day I get in my car to turn it on, I need to turn the key, but then there's like I need to wait a second before I touch the
Power
radio
to
or
kill it.
whatever. It's like there's like weird little things where everything has to be just right, and I have it down to like the nanosecond of like that's when I can do it, or else my car does this weird thing because it's half electric where it like
Dies.
does the it's like no, you need to shift back into park and like restart or whatever. So it's like it's just weird timing things.
Sure.
Where I'm like I just got that down.
I mean, for legit just muscle memory, no interaction. I think for me, and I don't know if it's the same way for you, Colin, it's our door. Our front door baffles everyone who uses it the first time because it's an
800 pounds.
iron gate that's super heavy. But when you know exactly what to expect, it's that the push and you're like in and out. You don't get hit by the door. Everybody else, they can't get it. They get in, they get hit by the door. They're trying to get it on the way out. They
opening
can't
with
do
one
it.
hand, too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
On the one hand, where you use the finger to like kind of turn the thing and push it. Man, that door sucked.
That door,
The door has kept you safe.
That's true from the zombies.
Kind of funny wouldn't it be here.
Portillo kept me safe.
Thank you very much.
That door was just there for amusement.
I think when I think muscle memory, I think playing my trumpet, and that was always the thing that when we did the animated show, I think episode 2 required me to play a version of "Shake It Off" with my trumpet, and it's funny you pick it up, and it's something that you've spent so much time interacting with, and it's just that like the smell and the flood of memories that comes with it, and like I instantly think about the fight song, the Husky fight song, which I believe was the Bruin fight song actually.
No.
Because I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Our band director went to UCLA, so I think it was the
course
Bruin
it
fight
was.
song. But we took it as our own and owned it.
What's
But I mean,
interesting is the Bruin fight song is also the Cal Bears fight song, and they're both bears. Why?
because they were like,
Why'd
we need
they
a
do
second,
that?
We need a NorCal branch.
It's horrific when you realize your high school fight song is just a knockoff of somebody else.
I mean, yeah, it kind of was a little bit
Be
weird.
try harder high schools.
Yep. Ours
right.
was Notre Dame. I didn't
Ours
realize
was
that
the Golden
until
Gophers.
Ours wasn't allowed to
Graduating.
have a fight song.
Oh,
because-
Jesus God, San Francisco.
Because of fighting.
No
is
more
just
fighting.
bad.
We don't want to fight.
Oh, no fighting.
Everybody's
Everybody
friends.
Wins. Everyone wins. There's no losers.
They
I
do
think it
win.
was. I think our fight song
This
was "Go
generation,
Fight Win."
Colin.
I think that's what it's called. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Let me know in the comments if you went to UCLA what the fight song's called. I can look it up, but I'm not going to remember, and I'm probably not going to check the comments.
Yeah, I know how it goes, but I'm not going to do it right now
Anyway,
because I'm a Trojan.
what's your Trojan?
So,
Let me hear
what's
it.
the Trojan song?
Yeah, what is it?
I'm not-
Trojan man.
No, that's not. Okay.
Am I really doing this?
Yeah, you're definitely doing it. I'll sing mine.
Well, I'll
after
do.
yours.
Are we doing alma
Okay, well, I
maters or
used
fight
to be able
songs?
to sing the song because when you were a song girl, you have to learn like the song and everything. So that's great. So it's like fight on for USC.
Oh,
Our team
right.
fights on for victory. Our
That's where that
alma
came
mater,
from?
dear. It's up
That's
to
the
you.
USC song.
Yes.
I've heard that in so many times. That's weird. I didn't know it was USC.
So there.
Because I didn't go there. To a good
Oh
film school.
man! And every 5 years, I get to go back and don my song girl uniform with another 100+ old song girls.
I'm so into this.
And then we get to do a routine together at halftime, and the band also comes. So it's
That's awesome.
the alumni band, and usually we do the same song every time. Actually, this time it was Tusk. Tusk is like our main song where it's like, "Fuck you, UCLA," basically. But
Shots fired.
sorry about that.
LA's crazy.
And yeah, so that was our one this year. That was a Fleetwood Mac song that the band actually plays with them on. So that's why we
okay.
use it a lot.
It's fun that you still go back. Like that's one of the things that
Yes.
If you had any pride, you would.
I'm envious of you guys because you guys
Yeah.
honestly like all three of you went to really, really kind of these iconic colleges that you had these amazing experiences at. And my alumni, I've been dodging my alumni association for the past fucking 13 years. They've tried. They sent different people after me. They sent like younger kids after me. It was like, I too, hello, Mr. Scarpino. I too am a film studies major here at the University of California at Irvine. And I'm like, hold on a second. And I just put the phone down. I'll just see how long it takes for him to hang out.
I only go back though if I can fit into the uniform because you can't get a new one. So therefore, that's when I go back.
That's a good milestone
incentive.
for you. Yeah, good touchdown.
See, I wish that I could reunite all the song girls from my high school because I love them so much. But I did.
What is a
and
song
it
girl?
was
God.
kind of funny live too.
You did.
All the girls dancing with Nick Scarpino.
Those girls
to Pony.
like to drink.
Including that woman who sexually harassed me.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Hey, to be
I love
fair,
you,
she
Amanda.
sexually
I love
harassed
you
all
so
of us. So
much.
don't act like you're fucking special.
I know who you're
Mr.
talking about. I think I too was sexually harassed. Now,
Well, now I just feel cheap.
speaking of the music, I mean, one of the cool things, since a young age, I played drums, and I had to abandon them after college because you just can't play them in a city.
Can't really bring
my
them with you
neighbors on
wherever you
Long
go.
Island hated me enough. You can't have it in an apartment building, and in those times, I mean, I've encountered drums many times since then, but you just don't forget how to play. I mean, I'm rusty when I sit behind them. I don't move quite the same way anymore. But I immediately know how to play. And I remember when we went to Kevin Pereira's, it was one of those things
Blew
where
my goddamn mind because this is one that I hear all this shit about you. Oh man, I play drums, and I'm like, okay.
And 95% of the things he says he's good at, he's not. But this one time.
No, but it was one of those
What?
things, I didn't
I don't
doubt you were
believe
good
it.
at it, but it was one of those things where I was just like, I just can't imagine this. But seeing you at the drum set, it was like probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen you do in my entire life.
Thank you.
Like it was like, holy shit, you're a magician on those things. We could have made a movie out of it, where it's like we're all just like,
Whiplash.
whoa, yeah,
About
Whiplash
a
too.
young up and coming jazz student.
Yeah.
So I like that the body and the mind.
I am not
This must evolutionarily come from somewhere. Like the idea that you
Remembering.
remember, like we have memory and we have self-awareness, which are things that memory is. Some animals have it, some don't. Some very limited ways. But there's got to be some sort of evolutionary reason.
It's got to be
why-
fight or flight in a way, right?
where it's like the body or the mind knows that like I have to retain this knowledge of how you skinned this bear,
Sure,
right? Or I
sure.
have to retain this knowledge of how you knocked this arrow or whatever, even though you might not
Fished.
do it very often.
Things
And then
like that,
10,000 years later, it's like I have to. The body's like I don't know. I have to retain this memory of you playing drums. I have to retain this memory of like it's like Erin brings it up a lot when she throws things at me, and I just catch them. Like sometimes fast are coming, like I don't even look, and I just grab them. She's like, "How the?" And I'm like, I think it's from hockey. Like but I don't understand. She's like, we all like you don't flinch. And I'm like, yeah, because my hockey coach when I was a kid, when I was 8 or 9, I used to flinch when shots were really hard, and they kept shooting at my head and my chest until I stopped flinching. And then you don't, and you
Like
realize
Goldberg,
it
they
doesn't
just
hurt.
tie you to the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Like
It doesn't
Goldberg.
hurt anymore.
Because I remember that was like you could tell like I mean it used to be with the younger kids like you can just pretend to take a shot and they're like like all scared. I'm like you're not gonna get hurt. Like you can shoot. I remember my coach fucking rifling shots at me when I was like an 8 or 9 year old, being like it's not just let it hit you. It won't hurt. And once you realize that, you don't forget. And my body for some reason. Or my mind is like, we're never gonna forget this. You're
Never gonna get hit by
You're never gonna be as
anything.
good as you are. You're not athletic anymore. Look at you. You're a sad sap now. But this in your mind, so I really do think it ties back to those things where the body just doesn't know what you need and what it doesn't. So there's
Sure.
like you're just gonna remember this shit. You remember how to play the Nintendo game. You remember how to play the drums. You remember how to ride a bike. And back 10,000 years ago, is probably you remember how to skin a hide and do all these things, even though you won't do it all the time. I assume that there's some sort of. I'm sure
It's
I'm sure
repetition,
someone can tell me.
right? It's got to be repetition over and over and over again. Because mine, the reason I jumped to fight or flight, because I'm thinking of like a predator coming into the cave you're sleeping in. For me, it's the fact of like when I was back home visiting Poe and his son was there, right? This 3-year-old who loved Portillo.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. At 7 a.m. every day, he'd throw open the door, right? And I would shoot up out of bed and grab Porty and walk him outside so he didn't pee in the house. Like, I don't think a normal person should wake up and that should be their first reaction. Literally, as soon as I heard the doorknob turn, I'm like, we got to get out of here, Portillo.
I mean, my first reaction when I wake up every day is, oh God. So, here we are. I'm still here.
Still here. For better or for worse.
God damn it, I'm awake. That was a good topic.
That was a great topic.
Nick,
Thanks.
Yes.
what do you got?
I
'Cause
watched.
the bar's high now, bitch.
Oh. Okay. I watched a really fascinating documentary on Netflix called Raiders with an exclamation mark.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This was like a product of Alamo Drafthouse. I feel like was it
Yeah,
every time I went to
so-
Alamo Drafthouse, they were running things saying like this is a real thing that we
Yeah,
did.
the details. Apparently, Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool,
News.
Any cool news? Yeah.
and Eli Roth from
Everything.
apparently discovered this tape of these kids, now adults, who over the span of basically their entire life have been shooting a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Fuck yes.
Now, it sounds completely absurd because it is. And when you watch it, they did things like light themselves on fire with gasoline and almost burn the house down a couple times, actually, because they had to reshoot that scene because they were kids and they left the letter on the camera. Remember when you used to do that?
Oh, that shit. I
When
hate
like
that
you
crap.
didn't realize that the A was getting constantly burned in. So they ended up reshooting like half of it. And the whole documentary follows them as they're trying to do the only shot they couldn't do when they were kids, which was the iconic airplane sequence where the airplane's kind of turning and he's fighting the big guy and like getting knocked down and all that stuff, and then it blows up. So I just think that's fascinating, and it got me thinking. I'm like, it reminded me of the other shot-for-shot remakes that the internet have done. Obviously, there's famously My RoboCop remake, which has some of the funniest fucking.
Everyone go. Do it! Do it! We're at IGN watching this video, and like you see me laugh on this show, and how you know what it's like when I'm wheezing and doubling over and I can't breathe.
It's the best.
I am there wheezing and doubling over, which only brings more people, and all these people come around to see all these penises get blown off.
I remember I was like, I can't watch this.
I thought it was I literally that night. Turned off the lights. I'm sleeping next to my ex-girlfriend, and like it's been 5 minutes of silence, and I'm just like. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I gotta show you this video. I forgot about this
It
video.
was so disturbing. Like I remember you showing it to me, and I'm like, I don't wanna see
identifying master rapist. And it's one cut through it. Oh my God.
That was a good day.
So why? I mean, my first question about the Raider: why didn't they do the superior film Temple of Doom? Was my first
Wait
question.
a second.
The
Hold
second-
on.
We all know the best
No
one is the
way.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Knowledge was their treasure. Whoa!
The space within spaces. No, to answer your questions, because they started doing it literally after they saw.
I know. I'm
Raiders
just
of the Lost
trying
Ark
to
when they were
annoy
kids.
people.
It's fascinating though. There's a certain spirit that goes along with this. That at first you're like, this is stupid because you're not gonna make any money off of this. And then of course it got picked up by like Harry Knowles and Eli Roth and the founder of Alamo Drafthouse. I guess they did. I might get these details wrong, but I guess they did a movie marathon, like a film festival marathon, where you would sit there for like 24 hours and watch films and eat and have fun. And the guy was like, Eli Roth's like, you gotta see this. This is hilarious. Like, this is awesome. It's these kids, and you literally see them growing up, but they shot it out of order. So like sometimes they're like in their teens, and sometimes they're like 10 years old.
That's awesome.
And then sometimes like, and then the last scene, obviously they're adults with kids, so they're like 40.
Fat.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they gained weight and like they look different.
I mean, this
like,
puts boyhood to shame in terms of how many years they're trying to remake this.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So I mean, so you go from sort of looking at this film and thinking that's an absurd concept because you can't make any money off of that. At least that's how I thought about it. To wow, this is something that like is really meaningful because these guys. They split up. They hated each other. One had a drug problem. They moved to LA. It didn't work out. One went to the video games instead of, and all this stuff happened. And then finally,
Drugs, video games.
this moment in their life happens where they go, we want to shoot the final scene in this thing. And so now you can actually buy the version with the final scene. And I think it has, I don't know if it has the official blessing of Spielberg, but I guess they met him and he was like, guys, I saw your movie and like, this really inspired me. Like, you guys inspired me, which is probably the highest compliment anyone could ever
Can we
get.
be in your next movie? Fuck no, get out of here.
no, get out of here, kid.
There needs to be a movie about this movie.
It is one
I
of
mean,
those-
aside from this documentary, there needs to be like a real we get some actors in there.
I mean, it's
Chris Evans.
It's.
number
I think
one.
you'd like this. I think you and Kevin would like this because they literally have to figure out how to
Good
build the
abs.
boulder. You know?
Oh, that's
And it
awesome.
starts off with instead of
Tin
a boulder.
foil.
No, it's they found like some sort of spool, like a cable spool. Or something like that. That's just this thick cylinder of metal that's like following the fucking kid down, and it almost kills him. And they finally, figure out how to make the boulder.
Well, the thing about this though is that unlike a lot of the other things similar to this, it's not shitty. Right? Like they were trying to actually do it correctly. Like it's not a joke to be like, it's a tinfoil ball. You know,
it's not like
the RoboCop thing. Like
Be Kind,
some of the
Rewind.
scenes were great, but yeah, exactly. Be Kind, Rewind. That's the right way to
Right.
put it. What?
You're gonna talk shit about some of them RoboCop scenes.
No, some of them were awesome.
The RoboCop thing was a mixed bag of like, it was either the highest
We're
production
gonna go
value ever,
crazy or we're gonna
or
make it
people that are
stupid.
Like, we're
Like
trying to
the
be funny
one
with
where
this.
it's all the women pretending to be men and they all have mustaches. Are they drinking milk too? It's the best. Everyone go watch my RoboCop remake.
So our RoboCop remake, I think.
My apologies.
Is if you haven't seen it, there is some fucking gold in this.
There's like the one where the RoboCop can't get back in the car because his costume's too big.
can't actually sit in the car.
There's a word for it when you make something
Masterpiece.
shitty. Like you take something and you remake it shot for shot in a shitty way.
You shit it
Parody?
out.
No. There's like a specific
Poop shoot.
Don't know.
Swede. That's what it is.
Swede.
It's Swede.
Oh yes, like Be Kind, Rewind. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I guess that's what that is.
Yes, that movie was terrible, by the way.
No, I enjoyed that movie.
No, it was bad.
I had
It was
fun.
bad.
Did you see Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl?
I did not.
That movie was phenomenal.
I've heard that's
and it's a
very
very
good.
similar concept.
Be Kind, Rewind straight up jacked the Amanda Show. Did anybody here watch the Amanda Show? There's
Amanda
somebody out
Bynes?
there- Yeah. the
Wasn't
Amanda
that
Bynes.
all that?
All that
It spun out
off
eventually,
into
yeah.
the
Oh,
Amanda Show
I missed
and-
that.
But there was a show. There was a segment on that where it was the plot of Be Kind, Rewind, where it was just like these like weird foreign people and they would remake movies at their blockbuster is what it was, and then they would rent out the movies and it was like always like horrible like versions of Titanic and shit.
That's kind of fun though.
That is fun. But I mean, so I guess I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like, have you guys ever thought about doing that? I obviously when I saw our RoboCop remake, I wanted to be a part of it, but it was well done and
Here's what I'll tell you.
yeah.
Have I thought about making a shot-for-shot remake? No, I have not. No. Have I thought about making the definitive edition of a movie? Yes, I have.
Oh, what's
In
that?
high school, me and my friends were very serious because, as you know, we backyard wrestled.
You did.
So we had an understanding of camera recorders. I knew about, I'd make video projects for school. So
Can I
knew,
guess the movie before you say it?
You sure can. And I think I might have talked. I've talked about
feel
this
like- I
before.
feel like I know what
But
it
I'll let you guess it, and then I'll fill you in. But I knew, like back in the day, Tim doesn't understand. Tim doesn't know what it's like to be old like
I don't
us.
know
He doesn't. My hips
But you
hurt.
understand that, like back in the day, I had to have like 2 VCRs, and I was like hot
Tape to
swapping.
tape, baby.
Yeah, I'm pulling RCA cables out, I'm shoving them in the back, I'm doing all this stuff, and there's still like a pfft of like when I'm making a scene cut and
Yeah,
certain
there's always
things.
something terrible.
The movie we wanted to make was
Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues. That's right. We loved a little
Yes.
flick called Varsity Blues.
a great
What was
movie.
your part?
No, please. It was
Oh, wait,
more
you're
than
not
that.
in
It
it?
was more than
Okay.
that.
Moxon.
What we want? No, because again, the movie Varsity Blues,
Stick to the basics.
perfection.
Sure.
Varsity Blues, one of those coming of age movies everybody could get behind.
Sure.
You love it.
Whipped cream bikini.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
Out
When I
of
saw
shaving
that, I was
cream.
like, "What?"
Exactly,
I was like,
exactly,
what?
exactly.
I was like in 11th
That's
grade.
the
or
only
something.
way
Let the
Great.
washing machine do the work, she says, while Paul Walker fucks her on the washing machine. But then, of course, Billy Bob comes in and pukes up a whole bunch of hot dogs in there, calling some dinosaurs. Had never heard that before. I'm getting off track. The thing about Varsity Blues is that we loved Varsity Blues so much, Tim, that we would constantly then go into the extras of the DVD. Because again, you don't understand this. You're young and hip, and you've been downloading things. You're the
What's a DVD?
You're the hacker from Watch Dogs. I don't even know you. Back in the day, you'd buy a DVD, you wanted to see it all. You're listening to commentaries, going to extras, doing this. We would watch the trailer for the movie we just watched for the 30th time. And inside the Varsity Blues trailers are scenes that never show up, right? Because, of course, Mox has his girlfriend, Jules. She's put on this pedestal. She's up here, right? She's a stand-up girl. She's not the whipped cream. Apparently, she tested so poorly in audiences, I assume, because no one's written the definitive history of Varsity Blues. Will I one day?
Blake Harris should do it.
Perhaps I should.
Yes.
You should get
Blake
Blake
Harris
to
would
do
be
it.
great.
And so I assume they cut out of test audiences that the scene where she says sex and football, thank God I like sex, and she's sitting on a tree. I'll never forget this. Because clearly they just fucked on a tree. And of course I would have liked to have seen this scene. But it doesn't exist in the movie. So we were like, that's a red herring. There's more to this Varsity Blues than anyone ever knew. Because now Suicide Squad comes out, terrible fucking movie. We're gonna get a definitive edition for some reason with 30 more minutes. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? When there's somewhere there are reams of footage for Varsity Blues. Reams of it.
Yeah.
That are because you want to know the other thing? Moxon's father. Tim, is Johnny Mox's father a good character?
Yes.
No, he is an asshole to his son the entire time. He drinks too much, and we're like, this guy sucks. What happened to him? There is a scene in Varsity Blues
dies.
where he is sitting there watching the practice with his bros. And they're like, oh, your son's getting the shit kicked out of him by Kilmer or whatever, right? And he gets up, crushes his beer, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen Varsity Blues. Tosses it down and goes, I stood up to him. He will too. And I'm like, where is the redemption of Mr. Moxon? Clearly, he's going through the same thing Jonathan's going through. At some point, we need the flashback of a young Kilmer yelling at a young Mr. Moxon, and Mr. Moxon telling him to shove the football up his ass. I'm gonna go be a shitty fucking dad the rest of my life. Where is it, Tim? And we wanted to put it in. Did we have the budget? No, we did not. Did we have the blue football jerseys? Yes, we did. St. Francis football jerseys were blue. We were on the precipice of this, but it turned out we were very lazy, and I regret this to this day.
We can still do it.
You can still do
Now
it.
I have nice cameras and Nick Scarpino. We should do this.
I'll help you remake or redo or add the missing scenes to Varsity Blues. We can stitch it together just so that it just.
This is why you and I are besties. Pound it out, bro.
I swear to God that you've told this story on the show before.
I've never heard
but
of it.
it's so ridiculous that as you were telling it, I was just like, this is still crazy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you as a person.
Everyone tonight, go home. Your homework is to go watch Varsity Blues and then watch the trailer and think about everything I've said.
Look at all the
Then I want a
differences.
fan fiction for now. What happens? What's the next chapter?
Oh my
Of them
God.
Now.
Oh my God. Are
Varsity
you
Twos.
kidding me?
It was like
Varsity Twos. You made it perfect. Are you kidding me? God damn it, Tim.
I mean, I was gonna say it reminds me of what we always dreamed about, which was American Pie 4 until we got
Yep.
it.
And then we got it. It was perfect. It
It
was
was.
perfect.
You know what? It fucking was.
It
perfect.
was. It was good.
It was really good.
All those movies
Tara
were good.
Reid, who I was in love with, just
Now,
absolutely in love with.
and I'm sure
Still pretty good.
you and I have a movie idea we're working
Still
on.
pretty
We're
good.
workshopping. We're
We
kicking
are.
around. The next project we need to do is Varsity Twos, because the plot writes itself. And this is gonna sound morbid. Stick with me, Tim.
Oh, God.
Paul Walker has passed away in real life.
Yeah.
It's true.
At the end of Varsity Blues, it is said that his character found his true calling to coach high school football
Oh, they say to be a
for the Coyotes.
car driver.
Huh? No. Tim, can you please not try to make everything a Fast and Furious universe?
Same universe.
So the thing writes itself that John Moxon gets a phone call. He's passed away. He's got to come back. He's got to come back and make it. John Moxon, it failed marriage. Didn't work out. Jules never left West Canaan, Texas.
Okay.
So now he comes back. They strike it back up. Are we going to get James Caan's son? What's his name?
I think
Scott Conn?
Scott
Are we going to
Conn.
get Scott Caan's character? Tweeter. That was it. Before Twitter. Tweeter.
Damn.
Who just walk around fucking girls in police cars, taking police cars? Are we get him this fucking picture?
Yeah, definitely.
You're goddamn right we are.
2016, huh?
Hang up. What now?
2016. Things are different.
Well, no, he couldn't do that part of it. He should be the chief of police. Fuck, this movie writes itself.
Wait, are we bringing
My
back?
topic next week is Varsity Twos and how my fucking
done.
my outline.
I will
I
watch
think
this
it's your
week.
topic right now.
I will watch Varsity Blues 2s. Varsity Blues before next week, and that's what we'll do.
If they're
We'll
not into
outline it.
doing it, you and I should just do our own thing. We watch it together, then we turn on the cameras and we pitch the
I'm
movie.
down. I'm
I'd
totally
like
down
to
for
play
that. I love
Johnny's
that.
little sister. Is that possible?
Well, he didn't have a little sister. He had a little brother, remember, who was going to be in a cult.
You know.
If you want to
We
turn
can
it on
change
its
it.
head.
Retroactively.
We can turn
change
it on its head.
Call
Or-
that retconning, Greg.
Or no, we don't have to retcon.
Greg,
we
they
can just
call it
we can
retconning.
make it very 2016. The little boy who's searching for an identity is transgender. And this isn't a joke. I'm not making
we
fun of
go.
the situation at all. I'm saying we can bring in current social themes. How does that play in Texas? Because it would stick with it that he was an outcast in Varsity Blues. In Varsity Twos, same thing. Different angle, of course.
Yes. Yes.
That might
We
be
got a movie
Amy
here, guys.
Smart, Allie Larder.
Oh, Allie Larder was another one I loved.
Allie Larder.
Oh,
she was the one in the bikini,
fantastic.
right? She was one.
She
with
was
the
the
She was whipped cream
Whipped cream
bikini.
Right.
Also,
She was no Tara Reid, but Allie Larder was definitely up there.
I gotta be
with
so.
But she-
They're both equal in my eyes as awesome.
Well, Tara Reid had the trash factor that when you're a 14, 15, 16-year-old, that
Like,
really
she sounds
kind
like
of
she
really
smoked
goes
400 cigarettes that day alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to say about this particular topic.
Sure.
The idea of
Varsity Twos or fan films?
the fan films.
My
Greg,
apologies.
is it goes back to what we've talked about with like people making fan games and stuff like that. I'm like, why? Like the idea that like Pokemon Uranium, I think is that game or whatever. And I'm like, you're going to get your asses shut down the second you release this. And why are you even putting your energy into this? This isn't even your universe. You don't own this. You didn't make this. And my whole thing is like, I want to write a Mega Man game really badly.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious about it. I think I can write a great Mega Man game and it'll be fucking
write
awesome.
it.
And I'll write it and it'll be great and it'll sell millions of copies. But I don't want to rewrite Mega Man 2. I want to use the themes from Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 to make a unique and new game. It goes back to like, why is Blade Runner getting a fucking remake? Why did they go back and do all these things where like
That is
it
a
was
sequel technically though.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that just to clarify.
Okay, that's fair. So why is any other remake ever getting made that
Right.
happens 17,000 times?
'Cause
and
Hollywood's
I for some
completely
reason
devoid of
selected
ideas.
Blade Runner.
Except for
Now,
RC2s.
I'm concerned about this because this goes back to what I think is there's a void of new ideas in arts, right? And I'm concerned about it because everyone like kind of looks and says like, well, Star Wars is so good, and it is that we're gonna they're gonna run that into the fucking ground.
Yeah.
We all know it's gonna
Clearly.
happen. We all know it's gonna happen.
Has to.
It's going to happen, and we're going to be sad about it at some point and be like, well.
But
wasn't
can
it
you
quite-
ever be more sad than you were for the prequels?
Yes, because
Good question.
it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, but
the
until it
like
does, just enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ride.
My argument would be just for this one thing, and because I have no attachment to Star Wars, right? Couldn't this just be the Marvel film universe? Where the Marvel universe isn't run to the ground. Sure, there's Marvel films you walk out of and you're like, well, that was totally whatever.
I don't want to get too into this because I really do refuse to believe that at some point this universe is going to collapse in on itself too, right?
It hasn't
Yeah,
yet.
it
though,
hasn't yet.
And it was supposed to 6 movies ago.
But you know, when I see this Doctor Strange, I don't know who the fuck this
Doctor
person
Strange
is.
was a really good one.
I heard that.
Yeah.
that. Do I believe it?
Have you
No,
seen it?
not even a little
Does
bit.
Colin Moriarty ever believe the facts presented to him? No.
No, not typically. So it's one of those things where I feel like I'm just concerned that there aren't new and better ideas. And we were talking about Black Mirror before the show began, and I was like, this show in the 6 episodes has presented 6 actually totally unique ideas for entire series or entire movies.
Sure.
And they showed incredible, for the most part, incredible restraint and being like, wouldn't this be interesting? Okay, it's over. You know, like,
Yeah.
and I like that kind of thing where I'm like, like restraint is something we don't see very often in the arts anymore because now it's like, well, how can I run this fucking thing into the ground, or how many times can we remake this thing?
But
now Indiana Jones is coming back. We're getting a Star Wars movie where they have to fucking use Han and Lando. We're getting all. I'm like, come on, guys, like. Aren't there new ideas? And so I think it goes all the way back to this particular thing where why don't we get inspired by what we like?
Well, here's my thing.
And then use that to create something new.
You're talking about Black Mirror, which I've watched is great. No, I haven't watched nearly as much as you have.
It's
now.
not great. It's fucking perfect. By the way, that's the thing where I'm like, why didn't anyone just tell me that? You know?
Oh, it's real simple. A lot of times people present their opinion to you and you tell them, no, that's dumb. I don't like that.
No one was talking to me
And
about
you
Black
haven't
Mirror.
even, in my opinion, you have not even gotten.
Kevin yelling off camera.
Colin, you need to watch this.
What were you saying?
I'm saying I don't even think you've gotten to the best parts of Black Mirror.
No, I haven't.
There's
I mean,
a
well,
lot
apparently I
of
have.
greatness to come.
I'm excited.
Because
But
I
even
know
Black
that
Mirror, to
you're-
your own thing, isn't Black Mirror just Twilight Zone?
Well, that was the thing. But the thing is that that's fine because Twilight Zone. I mean, I love Twilight Zone. This movie's gave me a very, very kind gift, by the way, a Twilight Zone compendium, a guide for each episode, which I appreciate very much. Thank you. Twilight Zone was very important to me as a kid, as a writer and a reader, and in the sci-fi and all these things. Like that show is phenomenal, stands up to this day, and is better than virtually everything that's come since in terms of storytelling. And to see Black Mirror, I heard people talking about Black Mirror where they're like, it's kind of like this British thing and it's kind of like Twilight Zone, all these things. No, it is Twilight Zone, and no one stopped and said that to me, or I would have actually watched it earlier. But, and that was the thing where I like, well, that's fine because Twilight Zone wasn't about anything.
Yes.
It was just stories.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
all different. And actually, that's my only problem with Black Mirror is that they're all thematically the same. And that's not what Twilight Zone was. So I'm waiting for one to switch it up a little bit where it's like, oh, technology's run amok. Look.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I get it, guys. Like, and the stories are great. But they're on a pound for pound level, that show is pretty much perfect. And I can't believe how good it is. But that showed me, I'm like, wow, there's in the 6 episodes I watched, there are 6 unique ideas. You know, for something more. And in 2 of those episodes, they ruined it by going too far and ruining the ending. But which just happens in Twilight Zone too. But I like that where it's like with the presentation of new things and new ideas and new stories. And there's an infinite amount of things we can talk about and discuss. And so I get really distressed when we go back
Well,
constantly.
this is
to the
back
well.
to the idea of, first off, last week's topic of China in the movies, right? They want.
I wasn't here.
They want a proven successor. Well, you watch all the shows.
No.
No? Okay,
Nope.
great. And then the other one, of course, video games, right? That a video game with a number at the end of it sells better than the original.
Sure.
That's the thing we run into.
Except for
right?
Titanfall.
Now, you're not really big on. I'm kind of surprised that you don't like
the
indie
best
films.
shot you've taken in a long time.
I'm sorry. What'd you say? I missed
I
it.
said I'm kind of surprised that you aren't really into indie films because those are original ideas. And this year is actually probably one of the best years for indie films. Sing Street, Green Room, there's some great stuff coming out that you probably don't even know about because it's not presented to you through the media.
And that's the
form
biggest
you'd
problem.
see.
Is that I like indie films as well, right? And I should say I like indie films like you do, right? But in the similar vein of Colin, it's just like I'm not so into them that I have a source telling me about them. Whereas so many of our
Right.
fans are like, "Oh, I never would have given Overcooked a chance if you didn't talk about it or whatever X, Y, and Z."
Right.
It's the fact that they listen to us and we are tastemakers and they're listening. But I'm not listening to movie podcasts, and that's what I always struggle
Right.
with.
On Netflix right now in the United States is Sing Street. Unfortunately, I didn't know that last week when I rented it, but it is an amazing movie and it has a ton of original songs, and it's just about this boy who likes this girl, and he says, "Hey, you want to be in my music video?" And she says yes, and then he goes, "I got to form a band now."
Oh, I saw that.
And it's so good and it's so heartfelt.
Yes, I did see that. It's British, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Or,
It's,
or out of Ireland,
Irish.
maybe.
I
Oh,
caught
my
a
shillelagh.
little bit of it on my plane ride back from Morocco, and I'm like, I gotta watch this movie, and I totally forgot the name of it until just now. Thank you for that.
There you go.
I gotta go watch that.
And Varsity Blues.
Anything from A24, that
Usually
studio,
gets-
Right?
that
They
up.
do, and
They've
what
got
is
good
their
stuff.
what is their connection?
They're a distributor.
What is their connection? It's
To-
just it's a woman that has a lot of money and it was like, I want to make movies.
No, that's great, but I mean the
Kind of
fact that I feel like
that.
every time we go to Kabuki or no, I'm sorry, anytime I go to Alamo, it's all A24 films. Are they just like the biggest
They're just
independent?
kind of the
Actually,
new
not
one
that.
on the scene
Yeah,
that
they're new.
is making.
But for indies, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, they go out, they go to festivals, they work with artists. I think the newest one they have right now is Moonlight, and I think that was them and Plan B, which I think is Brad Pitt's company,
Right.
Or his quote unquote company. It's run by other people, but he is the face of it. And they did
Don't
12 Years
spit
a
in the
Slave,
face
Selma.
of Brad Pitt.
I would never.
Who almost graduated from the University of Missouri.
Well,
One credit
he
short.
made that
Won't
choice.
come back for it. Please come back, Brad. We need you more than ever.
But yeah, no, they're just tremendously good at finding really talented people and really talented like scripts and projects basically, and putting. I think they're actually doing production now. I think I heard that correctly over the last week. They've just announced they're going to start getting more into production instead of just distribution.
They do so much great
which
stuff.
is cool.
Yeah. I'm on the other end of the fan film thing. I personally love fan films, but I also think, and not to rehash this shit, but I think that now we're getting more new ideas than ever because everyone can do whatever the hell they want. But with that comes some of my favorite fan film creators are Corridor Digital, and they put out a video that is this super unique original thing. Doesn't get as many views as, oh, here's a Master Chief fan film, you know? So it's like it goes back to the money talks, view talks, and it is what it is. But from fan films, I mean, that I do what I do because of fan films, and whether or not they're full films or series or whatever, like Ismahawk's, what's it called? Nightwing. The series. Fantastic. You know, like that's the type of thing that is like, that is obviously made by people that love and care about the IP and are expanding on it in a way. And I think that's where we're really fortunate now is we have a group of people that are skilled enough to produce things and know the content better than some of the content creators.
Yeah.
Care about it in a way where for them, it isn't necessarily about making money. It's about telling the story of these characters, some of them more obscure than others.
And
you
that's
know?
that's for me to jump off of Ismahawk and Danny and everything they do, right? Of course, they found me at VidCon that time, and that's how the whole relationship started and getting them on Up at Noon to talk about Nightwing. But when I went to their channel and went back into their catalog and saw the time Danny made some video talking into a webcam and put on a Green Lantern ring and then like turned around and like hit him with a fist, and it was like, oh, fuck, you get it.
Yep.
You're good. And also we're here because as a DC Comics fan who for his entire life, who's seen every Superman, every Justice League, every Wonder Woman, everything, every movie though, even before we even got to Green Lantern, every idea that was put on into Wizard magazine fail. I remember when YouTube came around, I'm like, fuck, finally. And you start looking into, what Superboy fan films are there? And you're like, oh, these are all awful. Like
Yeah.
these are so bad.
And it's just like anything, where it's just like there's only a handful of amazing things. There's a lot of trash, but we did a kind of funny reacts to this last year. But the Star Wars TIE Fighter anime short made by
amazing.
Otaku King, that's one of the greatest Star Wars things to ever be made. The attention to detail, the love into that craft and stuff, and because it's made by somebody that grew up caring and understanding what the franchise means and why it's so special to him, and adapting that. And of course, there's the amount of like Star Wars is the number one offender when it comes to bad fan films.
And I'm
right?
not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying fuck these people. Great that you tried, but it's not what I'm looking for. And I always think back of our first introduction to Al White. When I brought in that Spider-Man thing.
Spider-Man
he did.
Eclipse.
Spider-Man Eclipse.
Yeah.
And I remember when he hit me up trying to get it on start at the time or help, get promoted at the time. And it was like this thing of like, all right, what is it? And he's like, it's a Spider-Man film as if Spider-Man really existed. And it is a guy putting on like a knit
Shitty
Spider-Man,
ass
a
costume.
totally
But
shitty
that's the
Spider-Man
purpose,
outfit. And
though.
you're like, fuck, this is a great idea. Because that was always my problem with like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and how they've done it so great in the new Marvel MCU, right? Of the fact of like, how did he go from not being able to afford a car to this fucking awesome suit that's like
Yeah.
molded to his body?
Yeah, man, and with him too, he was the guy that made the Why the Last Man short, right?
No, those are. I think that was
Was that a different group?
Yeah.
Well, that was awesome as well. Like there was a lot of fan films that were made in the last 5 years or so, and like those people are now making real shit. I mean, I gotta mention the Zelda trailer that IGN made for April Fools. Granted, it's just a trailer, but it's really dated. And not
It
good
doesn't hold up now, but back
like,
then.
2008, that was like, holy goddamn shit, this is amazing. And it just opens your mind to what could be. And it's like, yeah, Zelda movie probably would be really bad, honestly. But that trailer gave you the hope that it would be awesome. And there's been so many fan films. Again, if you haven't seen that Star Wars thing, I highly recommend that. But
Recently the Ari Shankar.
Oh my God.
Power Rangers fan
Adi
film.
Shankar, yeah.
Adi, excuse me, not Ari.
the Power Rangers, that's
was
going to be
amazing.
better than any
Amazing.
Power Rangers things that will ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the thing. I'm split. I'm with Colin as well, where it's like it does seem like it's a lot of time put into something that's not necessarily going to net you out positive, right? And you're going to get people's adoration. There's going to be a lot of fans that like you, but it's not something that necessarily has that immediate sort of payoff, right? Like oftentimes I think a lot of people, a lot of young creators will make something and go, this is going to get me, discovered, or I'm going to be able to sell this idea or whatever. But the problem is if you're already working with someone else's IP, you can't really do anything with that. Like Danny did a great Nightwing series, but that's not. And it's possible. It's always a slight possibility that someone might look at that and go, "Oh my God, this guy's great. Let's make a Nightwing series." But more often than not, I think it's not going to necessarily be one-to-one payoff.
But
like
that's
that.
the point, right? Is the fact that the reason it's a fan film and not a film is the
Sure.
fact that you're not making it. Like, I don't want to make the Varsity Blues thing, or back in the day, we didn't want to make the Varsity Blues thing to show at a festival. We wanted it because we thought it'd be fun because we really loved this project and we wanted to be a part of it and make it better.
And I
See,
think
and
that
I-
when you have the skill and talent, though, and you're right, it's definitely not a guaranteed thing. Anybody doing it for that reason is like anybody that's making a Pokemon Uranium to get a job at Nintendo, like they're kidding themselves. It could happen, and like
Sure.
and that's the thing is it's like
it's
it's not
really
it's not
good.
like it's out of the question, and that guess what, that it actually is a good way to get noticed and to
It's worked before.
It's a resume builder, right? When you made something that people have heard of and know.
Well, Raven, the studio that works on Call of Duty now, was created making Doom mods.
And I mean,
Yep,
when
yep.
the,
And Quake
the mod
mods,
games,
actually.
the Miss Pac-Man story, the Counter-Strike story, like there's obvious success there. So it's like, again, we say this so many times. People ask, how do we get in the industry? Do stuff. And
Yep.
I think that making fan films, doing stuff that people are familiar with, is a little bit easier, and it also can show that you have an understanding of how to do something. I think that the perfect example for me is Red versus Blue with Halo, which is just a fan series in a really, really weird way.
Sure.
Now you don't really look at it because now it's officially licensed by 343 back in the day, Bungie.
yeah.
But it's like, but that's how that worked. Is that was so good that they were able to have that conversation, be like, yo, we're going to license your game to make this content that at this point has nothing to do with Halo. It's just the first 5 seasons were just garbage dick jokes. But then from 6 to 14, it's this amazing story of people that really give a fuck about what they're doing.
And that's why it works,
I
and
think
that's what
great.
fan films are. And I always talk about it where when that inevitable question comes up of like, if you won $1 billion, you had all this money, and what would you do, right? And I always say, well, I'd give a bunch to Mizzou, right? But then the other thing I'd want to do is cut a Kingdom Come movie trailer. And I would get John Hamm to be Superman, and I would have all these other things happening, and then the final section would be the panel where Superman comes in to the Batcave. And it's just John Hamm with his arms crossed and a nice medium wide. I think I'm using that right. because I just want it from here to here. And it would be it is like
Medium close.
Medium
close. Thank you. I don't know.
Yeah.
He comes in, and as he's coming in, Batman says the whole thing about but it's wide. Batman says the whole thing about blah blah blah, dark side or whatever, and it's a medium close of John Hamm in his Kingdom Come outfit, and he's like, I don't have that dark side. And then the final shot is cut in close to Michael Keaton in the fucking neck brace and all that shit at the Bat computer going, tell that to your tailor. And that would be fucking dope, but I need to be friends with John Hamm and Michael Keaton.
I think John Hamm's friends with
Well, if
money.
you have the money, yeah.
John Hamm is friends with the University of Missouri where
That's
he
true.
graduated and is in the commercial that was 2 years ago that he should bring back anytime now because we really need you too, John Hamm.
Now, if I had the money for doing some sort of fan sort of film thing, here's what I would do. Here's what I've proposed before.
Go for it.
It's not a complete film, but what I want to do is a shot-for-shot remake of Maniac. And this is from Flashdance, for those that don't know.
I see.
And Jennifer Beals had a body double for Flashdance. And so I would want to be her part, and I would want my body double to be Greg Miller.
Oh, that's fantastic.
This we could make happen.
I will do that for free.
This sounds reasonable.
Yes!
All we need
speaking
is a
of shot-for-shot remakes, I want to give a shout-out to you because you did shot-for-shot remake pictures.
still pictures. Yeah.
I did.
Of just
Very
iconic
iconic,
scenes
yeah.
and stuff from 80s movies, and those are super awesome. One of them is going to be the thumbnail for this
Oh,
episode.
sweet.
So that's fantastic.
I did Weird Science. Kelly LeBrock when she is in the doorway. And I wasn't originally going to do that one. So how this came about, little story. Let me take you on a little journey.
Take us on a ride.
I had tweeted out a picture of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and I wanted to do I just said, I wish I could remake this image, but I think I'm 7 years too late. And then I got all these responses, of course, because, I have mainly male followers. They were like, you should still do it. You should still do it.
Yo, you ain't too late to it.
And I was like, maybe I will do it. So I was like,
skimpier.
all right, if that image gets 100 likes, I'll do it. I should have
which
said
image was
1,000.
it from Fast Times at Ridgemont
It's
High?
her coming out of the pool.
What one do you think it is?
So
Her fucking hot dog on a stick? Come on, Nick.
there are some other images that no, I would not be doing from that movie. And so it did. And then I was like, all right, now I need to get a personal trainer, and then I'll schedule. Like I really,
Wow,
I got
you went
like
all out for this.
Oh, I spent a
Oh
lot
my
of
God, I
money to
appreciate
like
you so
get
much.
this done.
Good.
And I did it a few months later. I had like a professional photographer, professional videographer. You can watch the video on my YouTube channel, which is Hit or Miss Movies.
Which we said in topic 1.
It'll just be there, like when you go onto the page and at the top. And what else did I have? I had like 2 makeup girls, 2 hairstylists. It was a big thing, but I wasn't
fun.
going to do weird. I was just going to do that one image. And then then Andre Meadows said, you should do this Gremlins image.
Oh, you mean Black Nerd?
Yes. And I said, all right, for you, Andre, I'll do it. And then someone else said, you should do Weird Science. And I was like, I don't know.
What Gremlins image did you do?
It was a promo shot from like maybe Gremlins 2, I want to say, because it was different.
new batch?
Yeah. But it was just a promo shot. And it was one that he liked. She's just standing holding Gizmo.
Oh, so it's just Phoebe Cates.
Right.
Gotcha.
A lot of Phoebe Gates in there.
So I did, Weird Science.
And Fast Times.
Gremlins, 2 from Fast Times. And the one that I actually was basing it all off of, I hated that image the most out of all of them. So I don't show that one as much. It's still on my Instagram.
The Fast Time?
Yes.
Fast Times? What's your
I
Instagram?
just didn't like the way that it's Miss Underscore Movies. Nick Scarpino.
I'm sorry.
No, it's like
It just didn't come out right. Like my hair didn't look right, and I'm very much a perfectionist. So I just was
feel
like,
you on that.
I don't know. So
See, I get that though. I get I get why people do it. I don't want to disparage anyone that's out there trying to be creative in that world, because I understand loving a world so much that you want to play around in it.
You
I
did
think I did do it, and so I didn't want it to come off.
What
like
does that mean?
Harry Potter's.
The orators.
Right. So I didn't want it to come off like I'm, bashing anyone that makes fan films. I understand. I just think there's 2 like schools of thought on it, and I respect people from both sides, because you wanting to get exposure is obviously great, and then also just doing something for a pure passion project is always fantastic. It's fantastic as well. So I didn't want people to think I was shitting on them. But yeah. But like that stuff's fun, right? That's just fun. That's a fun homage to the
I'm
things
gonna do
that you
another
love.
one.
What are you gonna
soon.
do?
I'm gonna do 90s. So I'm gonna do the
Do
Sandlot.
Ghostbusters.
Sandlot. Yes.
So
Do real Ghostbusters when Janine was a Ghostbuster.
I'm also going to
can
be
borrow my
doing
photo,
Basic Instinct.
Oh my God.
And the
Okay.
third one is Pretty Woman. So there you go.
Man.
Great.
Early 90s.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you where it's like, do what you want, right?
Sure.
I just, my and we've all paid homage to things we love and stuff like that. But my theory is that if you're creative enough to do something like this, and it takes a lot of creative energy and a lot of creative, thought to do something like this, and you come to the fork in the road, I say like go down the road where you can use the inspiration you get from what you would otherwise ape and make something new with it inspired, right? Like, the Mega Man thing I was talking about before, like the Mega Man story I have in mind, it would be unrecognizable, right? Like I would just call it Rockman, and it would be based loosely on 2 and 3, but that's basically it, And so because like I've thought about this IP for so long that I have this own vision of what I think it should be, and it should be exactly what it's not. It should be way darker. It should be fucking violent and gritty and over the top and open world. Every fan film, right? So taking something that's bubbly and based on Astro Boy and shit like that, and turning it into something that is, an open world game where Mega Man is just demolishing these motherfuckers, Rockman. And I like that, and so it's kind of a path, that third path down the middle, but I also wonder, like, well, what ideas do I have a ton of ideas for things that I want to write and all those kinds of things. And I'd rather do those, spend the energy thinking about those than just playing around in someone else's sandbox. Because to be fair, like that sandbox exists. Someone else created it. If I created a great IP and I saw someone, making something really high production based on my IP, I'd be like, that's pretty cool, but that's mine. You're not gonna play around in it. Like I don't care how good it is. Like I made
Sure,
that.
but you understand that like you also have an audience already where you could do something original and find it. Whereas for like a Danny, and I'm not speaking for Danny, I haven't talked to Danny.
I've never seen any of Danny's stuff until the thing you guys were in, so I'm not.
Oh, wow.
I'm not talking about him either.
No. Not at all. I'm saying that he and all these other people on YouTube go and make something where it's like Nightwing is searchable, Batman is searchable, this is searchable, and people will find that, think it's great, and follow it so that when they do their original content, when they do want to have a voice, or they get picked up by a studio to go make stuff, because that has happened, right, Tim?
Absolutely.
YouTube creators that have been eyed by a Hollywood studio to come make a movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, the whole Mega Man thing, too, because there was a Mega Man fan film that was one of the first video game fan feature films that were made ever, and that was probably early 2008, I think it happened, and then they followed up with a Sonic movie using the actual voice actor for Sonic. That was
I remember
hilarious.
that. But not Roger Craig Smith, right?
No.
You're talking about Urkel.
Urkel. Old school Sonic.
Just like Scott Wiener did. Did Scott Wiener win? I don't even know.
Yeah.
All right, good for him.
He'd be Jin Kim.
Anyways, the Mega Man movie, I remember seeing trailers for it, and it was one of those things where I was so hyped for it because I was like, man, someone's doing this. Like, they're actually doing this right. And Mega Man's a franchise that I am very committed to from a aesthetics level, but not from a like game level. You are the number one Mega Man guy, obviously, but like even for me, I'm a fan of it. So when I watched the trailer, I was like, man, this is gonna be awesome. And I remember watching the movie and being like, ooh, that's wrong. And it's like, that's the flip side negative to the fan films is like when you get the things wrong, you just get destroyed for it. And like granted, then now I look back at it, I'm like, man, I was so hard on these guys that we're doing something that nowadays is kind of par for the course. But back then they made a feature film of a dude in a Mega Man costume. Like, and all the Robot Masters were there. And it's like they really went all out and did something with this. But all I did was tear it down.
Was it Mega Man 1?
It wasn't quite right.
What was it called?
Mega Man.
Just Mega Man? It's on YouTube? Or no?
It must be on YouTube. It was on Screw Attack exclusively.
Oh, wow,
in the
okay.
beginning.
I vaguely remember
Stuttering
it
Chris.
because Wiley's in it, right? I think I remember
The trailer had Wiley
Right.
and Roll and
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember seeing
this
that.
up.
I think I didn't watch it for
But I can
reasons
imagine.
that you're talking about.
But I mean, I was way younger than you, and I was into video production. So to me,
Right.
I was like, this is fucking awesome. You know, like it was the same thing with the Zelda movie
Sure.
trailer. It was something to aspire to. You know,
To your point, I think it's an interesting point to be made, though, when I talk about my vision for Rockman or a new game that I think Capcom Vancouver is more than capable of making based on my...
I thought they were.
Yeah.
I
me
was
too.
wrong.
Maybe they still are, and I will write
better
your fucking
fucking
game.
be.
I swear to God, I do it. The thing is that I want people to watch it or play it in my mind and be like, it's all wrong. I mean, because that's the fucking idea.
Well, that's
like it's already been done this way, and so it'll be all wrong, but all the touchstones will still be there, and you'll get it in the end.
That's the power of like
good.
what Telltale is doing with Batman, where literally I'm in this game that's choice based, and episode 1's very by the books Batman, and in the end it's like what? And then every episode afterwards, I am making choices that I think are, well, this is Batman. Oh fuck, no, they're going a different direction. I shouldn't have done that. Fuck. That's awesome, and that's cool, and that's what I want to see people when they get into. The shot for shot remake. Like, there's been so many fans who do Ghostbusters shot for shot remakes, and it's like I get that that's cool, but I'd rather have somebody get into the sandbox and play around with it and do something different, but not make them all female. I'm just kidding. That wasn't the problem with that. That movie was just bad in general. Kate McKinnon was really good.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to a documentary that Kevin recommended for me, also on Netflix, kind of along the same lines. It's called I Am Your Father. And it's about a guy, it's about David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, and how he never got to see his face.
Be Darth Vader.
And it's fascinating because the filmmaker, who is the documentarian on this, actually goes as far to get a crew together to reshoot that scene with him in it. And so which is not in the actual movie.
Jedi?
Yeah, from Return of the Jedi. So it's actually like the last.
That's really cool.
One of the
That's
last
really
shots
cool.
you see is them like putting like the makeup on him, and they put the helmet on him. And they have to walk him out to set because you can't really see in the hat and the mask. And then they like lay him down like in one
How
more
old
pillow.
is he, roughly?
He's got to be in his 70s, 80s,
Okay.
something like that.
Wow. That's like a lot less intimidating than Darth Vader walking. Is some
Right.
70-year-old man being walked out and you can't see in a mask.
He's still big.
I mean, for the record, Darth Vader was never that intimidating. Cash is a blaster.
He's like one of the top
wanders
10
around,
villains.
Has one of the slowest fucking sword fights of all time
You're
on
insane.
film.
He didn't need to fight. He was dealing with people that were not. That's why he was surprised in
They weren't
Jedi.
on his level.
He didn't even have to try. He was fighting Luke with one hand in Empire.
What about when he really awkwardly picks up the fucking Emperor and throws him in there? Why the Emperor, who's
I
fucking
don't want-
throwing?
You can't. Okay. Sorry.
Where is Watto? Where is the Watto film, Gary Whitta? Next topic.
Oh my God.
This one comes from patreon.com/kindafunny, where our friend Aziz, hey Aziz, as always, gave us a topic, and this one applies to you, Miss Movies.
Awesome. I'm excited.
He says, animated films. What are some of your favorites? Do you like them in general? Why or why not? I feel like Grawlin, that's you and me, Colin, that's our relationship name.
No, I heard.
You aware of that?
That's a thing?
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like Grawlin don't really care about animated movies at all, while Nim love them. Nim, that's you guys, by the way.
Secret name.
At all while
Secret name.
Nim love them
animated
and
movie.
always check out the new ones. Have you seen some of the critically acclaimed ones like Iron Giant or Inside Out? I feel like in most recent years, people love to complain about how there are no original ideas in movies, but there have been plenty of original stories portrayed in recent films, parentheses, such as Paranorman or Kubo,
Kubo and
Kubo?
the
I
two
saw
strings.
Kubo.
and the
Last
two strings.
night.
How was that?
But
Holy
a lot of people refuse to see them or acknowledge them because they're animated. How come? Love you guys.
I love that his critically acclaimed movies are
Iron
Inside Out
Giant.
and Iron Giant. Like Iron Giant, I get, but Inside Out. Granted,
very
yes.
critically
Here's what
critically
happens with
acclaimed,
Inside Out, or I'm sorry, Iron Giant all the time. People tell me all the time, do you want to see the best Superman film of all time? I'm like,
Yes.
yes, I do. And they're like, go see Iron Giant. And I'm like, no, that isn't a Superman film, and it's about a robot. Fuck you.
But it has been Diesel.
I'm just surprised
Does
by
have
it because
Vin
isn't Iron Giant like 15 years old now?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yes.
old, yeah.
So I'm just surprised that there wasn't one more in recent.
Well, Iron
I just
Giant is
saw
like
that.
is one of the like cult.
I remember
It's a
the
beautifully
commercials
made
for it.
film.
I want to say that there was a song on the soundtrack that I really liked.
It was Harry Connick Jr. probably. Wasn't it? Because didn't he do the voice? And doesn't he
Vin
always?
Diesel
isn't
did
that
the
always
voice.
But he's Harry Connick Jr. was the dad, wasn't he?
That's crazy. Vin Diesel
who
was the
that
voice of Iron Giant?
Yeah.
That movie was so long ago.
Yeah.
He wasn't a big deal
Super
yet.
Bowl.
So was Fast and Furious 1.
I mean, that was 4 years after Saving Private Ryan. He was in that.
But he wasn't a big deal in that. He got don't get me wrong, his start there. But I'm not thinking I'm going to make the best Superman movie of all time. I'm going to about a robot. I'm going to put Vin Diesel in there. When he gets to Groot, you're like, that's really funny. That's great. That's
Yeah,
what it should be.
Made it. Good job.
Yeah.
Vin.
Grawlin, how do we feel about animated films?
I mean, I have no aversion to them. My brother is an animator.
He makes kind of fun in the animated series.
Yeah, he makes kind of fun in the animated series, and he works
More
for Sesame
episodes are
Workshop, and
coming.
he's worked for a bunch of TV shows you've seen. But I don't actually. When I was young, I really liked anime a lot. Bubblegum Crisis, Robotech, Akira, and all of these kinds of things. These more, and then the Studio Ghibli stuff. I mean, I really like that stuff a lot. I think they're really good. But I do when someone's like, "Do you want to go see a movie?" and then it's a cartoon. I'm like, "No."
Exactly right.
I'm just
That's where I am too.
I'm not saying it for any other. Like, I'm not saying it's just I don't see enough movies. This is what I wanted to say before when we were talking about film generally, as we've been for most of the show. I respect the shit out of film, and I think it's something that I've expressed to Nick many times. I want to learn more about. I like them. They are not my ideal form of storytelling. I'd much rather watch a television series or read a book. So it's one of those things where it's like, down the list for me. And then when I get there, I'm like, all right, I'm there. I'm going to go see Arrival. I'm really excited about Arrival. Great movie, by the way. And,
Really good movie. I like that.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see Hacksaw Ridge and then Star Wars, and that's probably it. And I probably want to see I don't even know what the fuck another movie is that I want to see after that. Like, that's how
2017 Wonder Woman.
That's how no, I'm not seeing Wonder Woman. That's
You
totally,
love Gal Gadot. You're telling me they don't know how much you love Gal Gadot.
She's a complete distraction in the movie that I did see. What
She's
was it?
about to have another baby. Be nice to her.
So when I get down to that list, I'm like, well, there's only a handful of movies that I'm going to see because I just don't have the wherewithal to go and do this over and over again and pay attention enough. So the cartoons therefore fall down the list even further. I'm sure these Pixar and DreamWorks movies are mostly fantastic, or
these Pixar movies.
I'm sure Pixar is perfect.
DreamWorks hater.
But to me, it's like, I don't know. I have to get way down the fucking rabbit hole to even consider seeing one of these movies. And I know that some of these movies are supposed to be great. Inside Out, I heard, was really, really, really sad.
From what I heard, Inside Out hit too close to home for you. It's too much. The voices in your head making you all sad. You don't want that. You don't need that.
That's real funny. Making fun of mental illness.
I'm not making fun of I'm making fun of Colin Moriarty.
You can joke about whatever you want.
I mean, that's what the
Yesterday in the office, you said alcohol is the only thing that makes you happy. I assure you, that's not the message of Inside Out. No, that's the same thing. What was the bunny movie where she's a cop?
Zootopia.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Zootopia. Max Landis comes on the Game Over Greggy show. Zootopia. And finally, the other day, I'm coming back from Montreal. So as I always do with the films I want to see, I watch them on the back of a fucking airplane screen because that's where they're meant
Best
to be
viewing
seen.
experience.
And I watch Zootopia and I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Racism's bad. Thank you very much.
That's what it's about?
Pretty much. Yeah, okay, great. I'm glad we all need to come together. We've heard this message before. I like the sloth bit. Yes, I did. It's a fine movie.
I believe they tackled
Yes.
it in Remember the Titans.
They did. They did.
The first movie to ever be about racism.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Colin. Nobody ever sits back and says, man, Hayden Panettiere, great on Nashville, but really, Remember the Titans is the
Oh, yeah,
really
she was the
drawing.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
She was
yeah,
great
yeah.
in that movie.
I love Zootopia.
Zootopia, fine.
It's not the best animated film of the year, though.
I watched Finding
What do you think
Dory.
it is?
I watched Finding Dory. I'm also like, cool.
The best animated film of the year is Kubo and the Two Strings.
And I can give you that. So last night, thanks to one Paula Gallagher, Kevin's girlfriend, fiance.
I've lost my fiance.
We went to go see Kubo and the Two Strings, and it's a movie that I've wanted to see, but it was one of those ones where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna like make an event. We're not doing any kind of funny reacts to this. It's not like something I have to do. But then we went to go watch it, and man, I fucked up. I should have watched this movie so much sooner.
How long's it been out?
I don't know. I want to say like 5 months.
Month? No.
Since
I think it just came out.
I thought that
July, maybe?
when you were like, I'm going to
July.
see
Yeah,
this.
while ago.
I'm going to see this at ILM. Paula Gallagher, of course, working on a mini feature film. I thought, oh, this is something that's exclusive, new. I didn't realize it's been out a while.
I mean, it's newish. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. But it's not
okay.
on Blu-ray yet. So it's
Is it because the name's so close to Cujo?
probably
Nobody
not.
wants to watch a movie about
Probably
the
not.
dog eating
No,
people.
they
No,
don't.
I mean,
Colin,
it's,
back me up.
it's abstract is why, and it's made
one of
by
the
it's
worst
not made by
stories.
Pixar or DreamWorks, so it's kind of
Laika.
like it's Leica, which is the
Stop
other
motion.
guys,
I'm looking
right?
it up.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
they made Box Trolls.
Yeah, their movies are all right.
It's totally wrong. I'm not
But
playing-
they
I'm
make
not
stop
playing it.
motion movies, and it's a different type of animation, but it's fantastic. And like, there's an art form there that is often lost. Like we usually see nowadays, CG movies is just that's what animation is. It's just like glorified video game cutscenes. But before we'd get the hand drawn stuff or things like Nightmare Before Christmas or whatever. This is kind of like that taken on to into 2016. And me and Kevin saw Box Trolls, and it was like, I appreciate the work put into it.
Daniel Radcliffe's movie.
Uh,
Justin Timberlake's movie?
Harry Potter.
No, that was
NSYNC.
Trolls. That's Trolls.
Which one?
Trolls.
Backstreet
Box
Boys?
Trolls. Box Trolls was.
Box Trolls was a
Elle
couple years
Fanning,
ago.
And I forget who else was
yeah,
in it.
and I don't know. It was whatever.
Open your
Like,
phone.
Box Trolls was
Open it.
super okay.
Oh, now you want to look at it.
Kubo was
Kubo. That's how I was playing.
Kubo's on
Amazing.
another level.
Right.
On another
K-U-B-O.
level.
I'm sure he wasn't it. Maybe he was.
I took my daughter to see Kubo.
Really?
And I took her also to see Storks. And at the end of Storks, which came out later, I said to her, which one did you like better, Kubo and the Two Strings or Storks? And she said Storks.
And you're like,
and
"Get
I
out
was
of the
like,
car."
No,
How old is she?
You are not my daughter. She's going to be 6 next month.
Man, see, this is one of those things that was interesting to me because I didn't know much about Kubo. I just knew it, like looking at it, I'm like, this is something I'm gonna like. Didn't even watch the trailer, didn't know anything about it. So going into it last night, I was kind of like, all right, whatever. When it first started, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. It took about 3 minutes for me to be like, oh, this is fantastic. And in the same way that Iron Giant is the best Superman movie, this is the best video game movie that ever existed.
Which one?
Kubo.
What is Kubo about? I don't understand what it's about.
So Kubo it's this kid, and there's a lot of backstory about his grandpa killing his grandpa's really bad, killed his dad, and he needs to live with his mom who like ran away and is hiding him, and he needs to then go find mystical armor and mystical sword and a mystical helmet to be able to fight his grandpa. And it's like, okay, cool. So it's a video game. And then he goes out, and each one of those things he has to beat a boss essentially to get this thing. And I'm like, holy crap, this is freaking awesome. And the characters were so well written, and everything about it, I was like, I kept being impressed by it. And the stop motion animation was like, they really took it to a next level because there was actually choreographed fight scenes. Like it wasn't just like the typical.
Oh no, it blows your mind when you
shit
think
you're
that people
seeing.
had to do that, like little movement by little movement, frame by frame.
And then in the credits they show you them doing it.
Yeah,
and
it's fucking wild. It takes years.
It makes you appreciate it that much more. But whereas with Box Trolls, I watched that and I was like, all right, the movie was fine. Why'd you put that much work into it? With this, I was just like, man, like that was worth it. This movie's fantastic.
Maybe they had to make Box Trolls in order to make this film, because sometimes that happens too.
That could make sense.
But I totally, if I could cosplay, like in terms of make cosplay, I would be one of the sisters.
Oh my God.
Because they are the coolest things I've ever seen on camera in animation.
And that's the
recent
thing. I'm a
years.
little shocked that you brought your kid to it, because I mean, obviously you might not have known going into it, but
Right.
this was a dark movie.
is dark.
And it's one of those examples where I'm like, was this even a kid's movie? Or was it just an animated
See,
movie?
but that's
Right.
the thing.
That's
That's
a
the
good
best
question.
animated. That's a type of animated movie. The ones that hit on both those levels, right? It's always why people love The Simpsons or properties like that, where it's like it attracts kids because it's animated and funny and goofy, but then it's very smartly written and gets the parents involved too. This, as a side note, there's a shout out to a documentary called I forget what it's called, but it's about Aardman, who I think it's Aardman, the company that makes Wallace and Gromit. And it's a great behind the
my
scenes
brother just
documentary
watched
about
this.
them. It's awesome. They also made Chicken Run, all sorts of other
Shout out to Chicken
very
Run.
British stop motion animation movies. I mean, I think great animated movies. I love animated movies. I love them because you can do something in that medium you simply cannot do with live action. They captivate you in a way that even the best movies with CG just don't do. Even movies like you look at movies like anything they're doing with Marvel right now, right? Like the Avengers or Doctor Strange. All those movies are great and they're fun and they're great in their own right in that medium, but they don't really hold a candle to The Incredibles, right? They just don't. Like that movie is fucking almost like perfect. It's as close to perfect as you possibly can get. And it's because of that from the first frame on, you're just in that world and there's nothing that takes you out, except for some of the hair effects, which they still have yet to nail in CG. But I love that. I mean, everything Pixar's done on some level. Pixar's the gold standard.
They really are. And that's the
amazing.
thing is with Colin, with what you're saying about like not wanting to waste your movie going experiences on animated movies, like I get that to an extent, but I think Pixar is the one exception to that. And I feel like there's other people every once in a while that do have a hit. Disney in recent years has been very kind of like, they're trying and they're doing stuff. And I thought Zootopia was a breakout for them of like, man, this is almost Pixar standards, but it wasn't quite Pixar standards, you know?
It was.
And Pixar has a couple 9s instead of 10s.
Sure. Like Inside Out was Pixar, right? Or no,
Yeah.
was that, yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was great, but I don't think it's the best movie they've ever done. I think I love the message behind it. I like what it stood for, but it wasn't on the level of like. Actually, I don't even think. I think Up was. Maybe Up was on the same level as that.
Oh, Up's amazing.
Up's really good.
Up's
Up was good, but
Inside Out's really good too.
It was good, but then 9 out of 10, right? It doesn't have that extra little like
I'd
this
give
is
Up
going to
10.
be amazing.
I don't know
Inside
what
Out.
it is.
You give Up a 10?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about animated films that I can't get behind. Where when I see it, it is a detriment to what it's going to become, and I assume it's kind of like my stupid rules that I have that I don't really apply.
Space.
Exactly. It's space. It's medieval times. Whatever. It's not for some reason when they go into an animated thing, it's not that great. But I am what we were talking about earlier, right? Where it's like, okay, cool. It's Toy Story 2 or 3 or whatever, and I'm like, well, I fucking really like Toy Story 1. I should go see the rest of them. Whereas like Aladdin 5, Jafar and his glasses, I'm not as interested in.
Oh, it's a mistake on your part. I mean, the thing I will say about animated movies, I know obviously a lot of people know that I love them. I love Disney. I love all this stuff. But it's not like I'm not critical of them. I think that Pixar is the golden standard. And I think they are the ones that do it right. And I think that overall, there's been a lot. When it gets to the sequels, more often than not, they're not great. Toy Story is the one exception. I think the Toy Story trilogy is perfect. It's one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time.
But it's
when
so
you look
sad.
at Cars 2, when you look at
Cars 2.
Monsters University, not a bad movie,
Cars
but
1.
not a good movie. Cars 1 was good.
It was terrible.
No, Cars 1 was good.
I did not like that movie.
But Cars 2 was bad.
Let me tell
know?
you
It was
something
a
about
sequel.
Cars 2 real quick. My daughter had to get a cavity filled, and so they gave her the gas. And they said, "What's your favorite movie? We'll put it on." And she says, "Cars 2." And I was like, "No." And then, so they put it on. A year later, I shit you not, she has to get another cavity filled. We go in, gas is on. What's your favorite movie? We'll put it on. Cars 2. And I'm like, how did we come to this? How is this happening?
You need to raise her better.
I have
You know
this
what I mean?
child
That's
giving
like
this kid
What is
candy.
happening?
Colin's son saying his favorite video game is Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, you need to
Oh, man.
raise them right.
God, I
I'm
would send
so- I
that kid away
tried.
in 2 seconds. That kid would
Put him back in.
disappear.
Put him back in.
But Inside Out is a movie that I feel like maybe I'm dead inside because I didn't like it as much as other people liked it. And I don't know if that's because I'm a mom and so I see it through a different lens. All the people that I was listening to, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so sad about this part. And I was watching it and I was thinking, that's just not sad to me. I don't know why. And I feel it makes me sad when I don't have those emotions because I want to experience what other people are experiencing.
Yeah.
But I also want that to be genuine. I don't want to, try to force it.
Do you feel like that was because that particular movie was a little aimed more toward younger kids, like kids?
Probably.
I don't think that was necessarily for adults. I think that movie was written as like a, hey.
Really?
Yeah, I think
That
so.
movie had some real adult themes and some real
to me,
complex things to understand.
too, but to me, it was the whole point of that movie was to tell kids that if you're suffering from something like this, like it's okay, like you can you can get help, you can deal with it, right? And I think it was aimed specifically toward kids because of the way it was told. It was told through the eyes of the younger girl. I didn't think that, like personally, I think I'm on your level too, where I didn't. I don't think, and maybe it's because I'm not suffering from something like that, but maybe I just didn't. I didn't vibe with it. It didn't get me. In much the same way. It got every 5-year-old that was in the theater though crying their asses off. Yeah.
See, what's interesting about this, I mean, I've read a lot about all the movies, and it sounds like Inside Out was the one that didn't hit with the kids as much
Really?
as the rest of them. Yeah,
Okay, it's complex.
Because I think
It is complex.
it was a bit more adult in subject nature, and like they liked the characters, and like they looked funny and did funny things, but like from a plot standpoint, like
Right.
it didn't really like compute.
But kids don't care about
as
plots.
much. No, I
They
know,
care
but,
about bright
but with a lot of the
fucking
Pixar
shit,
movies,
things
but
they can put in their mouth.
It's a fair point of like what it means to you. Like I love the Toy Story thing because that is like that hits me in my core. Talking
that
about
also
nostalgia, talking
came
about growing
out-
up is my life.
For you, that came out at the right time of your life because it was like you were Andy through the whole thing.
Oh, and
in
that's
terms of
so
age.
true. That's so true. I mean, when Toy Story 3 hit, like I've said this many times in the show, like I've never cried at a movie more than Toy Story 3. Every time if I see it on, I'm just like, oh no. Like it gives me a visceral feeling of I can't watch this right now. It hurts too much.
The part where they're going into the
The incinerator,
fire.
but it's
Yeah.
really the end though. It's the end.
When Andy drives
When
away.
he's, like,
Gives the toys to
He's
the-
growing up and like he has to, I'm
Spoiler.
like, even right now I feel like I'm tearing up. It's crazy, man. And they did that though. And that's the magic of Pixar.
That's I think is what they did really well with that film is that because I was older when I saw that movie and it was nostalgic for me. It did make me think of those days when I was younger. It did make me think of playing with toys and the attachment you have to that world that you create in your own brain with these toys. So they did that. They did a good job at that. But again, yeah, I mean, Inside Out was complex and it probably was a little hard for a lot of people to grasp. So I think maybe just missed the mark a little bit.
But what I was saying though about Pixar is they are the golden standard, and despite a couple, I don't even want to say misses, but just not surefire hits. I think that they do everything right, but it's all the other people, the animated movies. There's the Iron Giants, and there's the things like Kubo that I think do stand out. But overall, animated movies do, going back to what Colin was saying, they do kind of like dumb it down a little bit in some ways.
Sure.
Even things like Secret of NIMH, which I absolutely love, I feel like it's missing something. And I feel like a lot of the Disney movies, specifically like the 90s Disney princess era, those movies and like even things like Lion King and Aladdin, like they feel like they're missing critical plot points to get to where they need to go. And because they are aimed at kids, they never quite get where they have to. Whereas Pixar takes its time and really crafts the whole thing. I think that all the other animated movies kind of like speed through a lot of stuff and just kind of like, oh, these two characters, yep, now they're best friends because they just met.
They've met once, now they're in love, now they move on.
Exactly. And it's like, it kind of like just moves a little too fast. I liked that Frozen kind of parodied that a bit.
Yeah, no, that was a great point. Yeah,
In
yeah.
terms of the whole like, wow, these characters just met, now they're in love.
They make fun of
And
that,
they,
yeah.
like they totally like switched off. But I feel like that was Disney attempting to be on that
Self-aware.
adult level and self-aware, like Pixar movies are. But still, it's very rare that the animated movies kind of hit in all those things. Like another animated classic is the Transformers movie from 1984, and even that, it's like there's certain points that feels like it reminds you when it's a cartoon and not an animated film.
Sure.
You know, and I feel like Pixar really hits on that animated film level.
There is a great film that came out to Netflix that's animated called The Little Prince. It's one that came out this year, and I feel like I hope it will be up for Oscar contention, but I don't know if it will because of the fact that it just came out to Netflix. But it's a really sweet story about a little
fantastic.
girl and her relationship with her neighbor and all the different adventures they go on.
Yeah.
And another movie that I really liked was called Song of the Sea, which was up for an Oscar, I think the same year as Big Hero 6, but I'm not positive about that. But that's another one. I think that's out of Ireland. And,
Shillelagh.
and it's just a boy trying to find his family in a way. And it's beautifully done. And I want to say, oh no, it's not stop motion animation, so never mind. But
You could just
it's
play Song of
beautiful.
the Deep. It's pretty much the same thing. Don't worry
And
about
if you're a parent and you have a little girl, there are a ton of My Little Pony movies that are like Equestria
songs.
girls. Oh my gosh, they have amazing songs in them. I can sing way too many of them. But yeah, so that's something to check out for the limited audience.
I'm not so sure.
You never
Might be
know.
some
There
crossover.
are some people that are My Little
the
Pony
bronies out
fans.
there.
The bronies. What up, Greg Atlas? If you didn't know, this has been the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5, best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can get every episode early and a bunch of exclusive perks, goodies, and things that Tim likes to give you.
It's true.
Do you like to give them?
I love it.
If you got no bucks to toss, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where you can get every episode broken up day by day, topic by topic, until we post the entire thing the following Friday as one big video and MP3. Brianna.
That's not my name, but hey.
Brianne?
Yeah.
I don't like that there's so much going on in the name. And I also just call you Miss
I'm sorry.
Movies all
there
the time.
you go. That's all right. It's a common mistake.
But why? Do you have you ever thought about changing your name?
No, never.
But really?
I mean, when
Brianne's
I
a
was
lot
little, I wanted.
I
to be
feel like
Kelly.
I hear Brianna more than Brianne.
What?
Am I wrong?
Probably. Yes. No, you're correct.
Do you feel like you
Colin's
hear
face right now is my favorite
Brianna
part of
more
this
than
day.
Brianne?
So you hear it more?
Yeah. What name do you hear more? Brianna,
Oh,
Brianna?
do you hear more? I thought you were like, you expect more.
In
from-
popular culture.
Oh, no.
Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
There.
that's kind
That's
of
what
like.
Oh, you guys
swaying
are
me.
such Game of Thrones.
Sorry.
Miss Movies.
Yes.
On Twitter. It's been up the entire time. Tell me about your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/hit-or-miss-movies. Get it? Hit or miss movies.
Ah.
By
Explain
get
it
it to me,
again,
you
I don't
didn't
get
get
it.
Miss Movies, so you had to go with that.
Everybody go like, subscribe, share.
There's a longer story to
Oh
it.
my
but
God.
we won't do that.
Underscores
We'll do that
were
now.
involved.
Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.